folks ain't never heard of me, so I'ma introduce myself by using some hyperboles. I am that voice that talks a ton, but no one chatters back. They rather act like bladders acting spaz on rappers. Matter of fact, that's so real, I can't say like nah yet. Feelings that I caught made me feel that caution. Waiting for the day I get the silence I deserve. So I ain't talking oxen when I say I just wanna be heard. It seems like everywhere I go, everybody there trying to steal the show. So I'm here with my plan, I gotta let them hear who I am.
I wanna show that now's our time, today is my day. To make you say dang, cause I'm getting my way. It's my time to shine and it's okay.
Man, I'm finally getting this show, I can fit it raw. Zizzy, y'all, in case you didn't know me, let me tell you, it's a rap. Like I'm sick of eating hoagies. They try to lock this top notch down on the low key and provoke me. I stick my tongue at them, like Yoshi, I got to show people I can come up and swag. And when they feel my presence, they gon' back up like that. They see me now, they hear me very loudly, crystal clearly. Now they all jocking, pole jocking, trying to be near me. What is up? Now no one's ever speaking but me when I talk, cause when I talk it's all for DJ IG. Dag, yo, it's only me and my team that will come with more flavor than a bowl of ice cream. Since the verse is ending, I'ma thank you all for listening, taking time and witnessing. Now I'm finally glistening, feeling like I'm Christian. Well, that might not be the word, beg your pardon, y'all. I just wanna be heard. It seems like everywhere I go, everybody there trying to steal the show. So I'm here with my plan, I gotta let them hear who I am.
I wanna show that now's our time, today is my day. To make you say dang, cause I'm getting my way. It's my time to shine and it's okay.
Martin made him say that, Malcolm made him say that, Bill Clinton, oh boy, yeah, he made him say dag. I mean dag, do I gotta blab? Make some people mad just to grab me that precious glam like I'm Smeagol's hand? Nah man, ain't even right. And I won't test the road, cause I keep this next to my heart, it's like a stethoscope. If you ain't hear that, do not worry, you can rest assured. Google me or look me up with that Dewey Decimal, yeah. To be cherished and be loved is to be heard, to be seen and to be noticed and receive what you deserve. Put them high, no wait, cause see it ain't your turn. Psych, nah, DJ IG, we spittin' verse. And let that be my testimony, you just learned a lesson, homie. One that talks the talk and walks it is the one who gets the trophy. It's hard for me to step when they be stepping on me, but I ain't the only one. It seems like everywhere I go, everybody there trying to steal the show. So I'm here with my plan, I gotta let them hear who I am.
I wanna show that now's our time, today is my day. To make you say dang, cause I'm getting my way. It's my time to shine and it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the plan, I got the fam, I got the keys, I get the work. I ain't the man, you know what I'm saying, so leave it to me, cause I get it first. Yeah, woo, I've been going all day, man. Same plan, can't change that. Till I'm riding around, whole squad sitting back, chilling in the Maybach. Yeah, only as deep as your roots go. I don't do corny like fructose. If you got the drama, that's word to my mama, I'll cover you up like a toast. I was last in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work, if you work and it's fun. We on a winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We can do, ayy, we coming up from the dirt, ayy. They tryna get us to fall, ayy. I don't even gotta flex now, boy, it's only win by default, ayy. Taking off with the ring, ain't nothing left, man. We the kings, ran with the team, ran with the dream, ran with the one fan in the seats, ayy. I pay my dues, check the receipt, looking at you already peaked, way back then. You can't follow with my tracks, man. Last in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work, if you work and it's fun. We on a winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up.
Palm trees and clear night skies set the stage for one more race left until the playoff field is decided in the very same place the campaign began. Live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, or otherwise known as the World Center of Racing, we welcome you to the 20th and final regular season race of Season 5 in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Welcome back to our coverage on MaxSpeedTV. As always, we're atop the booth here in Daytona Beach, Florida. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Tonight is simple. We have one race left. We decide the drivers that make it into the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs for the season in 2023. We've got a lot of ups and downs, a lot of trials, a lot of tribulations, but now we can finally say, after this race, we'll have our field decided, we'll turn up the intensity, and then, of course, we'll kick the playoffs off and try to decide a champion each and every passing week. Just before we get to the start of tonight's race and a bunch of the other details, let's take a look first at our season schedule. This is where we've been so far, where we are tonight at Daytona, and then, of course, where we move forward. And the biggest thing to know is that you see Daytona there at around that third row on the bottom of the column. That's the final race of the regular season. After this, all the races highlighted in orange and blue will be ran from here on out. We will join the playoff fight. We'll see who exactly will emerge as a Season 5 4-Wide Cup champion. Now, we started the season here at this very track in similar conditions, so we find ourselves back in the very same place that we started. It's kind of poetic in a sense, but we've had a lot of great races. Darlington, Dover, Iowa, and just others throughout the season that have given us just absolutely classic races. And obviously one of those classic races was just 1 week ago at the track. Too Tough to Tame started off with the 55 of Joe Sanchez out in front, led though by the number 25 of Daniel Michel. He would soon lose the lead. Caution though would come out right about here. Timothy Cook with some early troubles, and then shortly after in turns 3 and 4, Eric Schaefer would get hooked by Jaden Porter, collected attacking Austin Reedy, and they both crashed together at a halt. There's another look at it from the 3's perspective. That was the first of many trials that he had to face throughout the race. AJ Green then took the lead in the 48 machine. Some success to come for him. Caution now on the back straightaway later on. Lawson Peel, Adam Alashire getting into it. Brandon Banks sending a shot to the rear end and kind of made the 12's night a little worse than it probably should have been compared to his speed early on. Scott Healy then ended up taking the lead and then pretty much had our longest green flag run of the night. First round of green flag pit stops. There's the 48 and the 55 taking their trips down to pit road, which handed the lead off to Kyle Benson, who we'll talk to in just a couple of moments. He led this race up until 2 laps to go, where caution would fly again, bringing us a green-white checkered restart. Here's how it all unfolded. It was Austin Reedy and Joe Sanchez who came in at turns 3 and 4, got collected in that 96. Went for a ride. If there's one thing you're also noticing is that it was throwback week. We had a lot of great throwbacks and a lot of great paints. Here's a pivotal decision on pit road. Everybody second on back, including Jaden Porter and AJ Green would find themselves on pit road. Benson would stay out on old tires. Crash would come out on the first attempt of green-white checkered action. There's Brandon Banks, Scott Healy getting involved in it. And then came the final attempt at a green-white checkered. It looked like things might have been okay. Brandon Banks further back in the shot getting caught up, and then Jaden Porter gets into a car on the inside. I believe that was Scott Healy. And here was the pass for the win. Caution came out right there in turn 4. AJ Green decided the winner, his second race win of the 4-wide Racing Cup Series season, and an unbelievable job by the number 48 car, who, by the way, comes into tonight knowing that he's won this race 1 season ago. So there might be a lot of momentum for that Stonks Motorsports number 48 machine. However, though, if we're talking about momentum, we do also have to discuss the fight for the regular season championship. We haven't talked about it all too much here on the MaxSpeedTV YouTube channel and throughout our coverage of the series, but here's how it all stacks up. The teammate Tango DBR fighting for the regular season championship tonight. Although both of these drivers are locked into playoffs via wins, they obviously do want to have those extra 5 playoff points going into Bristol, knowing that they can carry all that momentum if they can cap it off tonight. Sanchez with 2 wins on the season. His teammate Lawson Peel with a grand total of 6. Both of them have been absolutely amazing. So consistent every single week. Comes down to both of them in tonight's race from Daytona to see what they might be able to do. Let's take a moment and look at the track map here in Daytona Beach. Our images, of course, provided to us by Google Earth, and this track really needs no introduction if you're a NASCAR stock car racing fan. It opened back in 1959, has been hosting the Daytona 500 ever since, and of course, the Coke Zero 400 that they run in August. It's a 2.5 mile, 4.023 kilometer tri-oval super speedway, and you'll find the 31 degrees of banking, very steep in turns 1 through 4, 18 degrees of banking in that tri-oval to the start finish line. Going to be very pivotal once we get to the end of this race, and only 2 degrees on the back straightaway. This track, obviously, from a first glance, looks like it's very easy to drive. It is not when you've got a bunch of cars around you, and with the way this next gen has been driving on super speedways, you bet your bottom dollar we're probably going to have an absolutely stellar showdown here for tonight. Let's take a look at our playoff standings. This is exactly how things are going to look going into tonight's race, and one thing that you'll notice prior to this race, and even in comparison to last week's outing at Darlington, is that you've got more drivers locked into the playoffs. We were looking at the entry list for tonight's race. We have a grand total of about 22 or so, and that means Christopher Bishop in the number 42, Tyler Murray in the 16. Both of them automatically bid their way into the 4-wide Racing Cup Series playoffs via their chances with the entry list and the amount of drivers. If it was under 37, it was going to be that number 42. If it is under 30, it would have been Tyler Murray locking in. So by the fact that basically both of these drivers are locked in, that means there's only one spot left to fight for, P16. That's Kevin D'Elia and Kyle Benson, who's back 17 points. Remember, we've seen Kyle Benson do this before. He's been out of the playoffs prior, and then he's locked himself in with a win in the very last race of the regular season. It happened at Kansas last year. No question that it might be able to happen this time around. We might have 2 times the charm, and you can tell he's probably riding with a lot of redemption in his belly, and at least trying to get back to victory lane, especially with what happened to him at Darlington. Kind of felt that race got robbed away from him. All right, qualifying is over. Drivers are trackside, so it's our time to take a look through your starting grid, see exactly where everybody is going to roll down here for the final race of the regular season in Season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Lawson Peel still gunning for win number 7 on the season. He lines it up with the fastest time on pole with a 49.342. He's also looking for the regular season championship too. He's got his teammate Eric Schaefer to join him in row number 1. Back in row 2, the rival for the regular season title, Joe Sanchez, sitting right behind that 12 machine in 3rd. Michael Newraw got a hand out to him. A qualifying effort definitely worthy that puts him 4th on the board. Tony Kibbett in the 76, also great qualifying effort. He puts himself in the top 5. Brandon Banks alongside him in P6. If there's one thing that you'll notice about these first 3 rows, all lined up with DBR talent. Rodney Roberts for Baqueal Bueno Racing, going to be in P7. Jesse Pree is going to be alongside row number 4 in P8. Then goes the final 2 in your top 10. Defending Daytona winner from last season, AJ Green in the 48, starting 9th. And rookie Ethan Hanshoe, I believe the first time we see this 23 car all season long. So a big welcome to Ethan Hanshoe as he makes his first start here this evening. Xander Short returns to the series after a little while in the 21, where we'll off 11th. And league owner Tyler Murray definitely over the moon, knowing he's locked into the playoffs for this season. He will start in 12th. CJ Munier is 13th when we drop the green flag in row number 7. Kyle Benson, the driver we'll be watching all night long, needing to gain those 17 points over Kevin D'Elia, or at the best, get a race win here tonight. Craig Lounslugger is 15th. Kevin D'Elia to roll off alongside in P16. Christopher Bishop in the 42, also recently just announced as locked into the playoffs for this year in the 42 car. Tyler Warner in the 33. He's won at Daytona before in history. We'll see if we can do it all over again from 18th. Brandon Gillis is 19th. Rookie Jaden Porter, rather sophomore Jaden Porter, the 28th, the winner from a couple of weeks back at Dover. He will be the first driver not to set a time in qualifying, and he rolls off in 20th. 22nd will be Curtis Kelly in the number 71. 23rd will go to Lance Hill in the 1 car. So Trackhouse Racing having a pretty deep start. Final driver in our field this evening, the number 03 of Brian Dixon. Beautiful weather here in Daytona Beach, Florida. Track temp at around 71 degrees and air temperature at a nice 69 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds to the southeast at around 2 miles an hour. It is a clear evening in sim. We roll under the lights from the green to the checkered. We go 100 laps, a total of 250 miles here from the world center of racing. And you can tell all the drivers from first through P6 or even P7, all of them from the Drinkin' Bros Racing camp. And we didn't see this much stellar qualifying from them out of Talladega, one of our last super speedway races in Season 5, but it looks like they have turned things around and they're looking to take the field by storm. And that's probably the biggest advantage to have if you're a team. Have everybody up at the front. You can avoid the chaos that can happen near the rear, and the best part about it, you can all work together on strategy. Now, we've seen these races go past its scheduled distance at green-white checkered territory. We all know things are going to amplify here tonight, being the regular season finale. Pace car is down. Lawson Peel and Eric Schaefer take us through the green flag. Race number 20 in Season 5 is green. Clean lap 1, DBR in control. Lawson Peel going to hold on to the lead. Joe Sanchez following suit in second. Eric Schaefer lines it up now outside for the first row, and now inside the top 3 in that last spot. That light blue Chevrolet Camaro and the 76 Tony Kibbett lining up in 4th. Looks like Rodney Roberts has been able to slot into 5th. A bit of a poor outing from that outside lane to start. A lot of them easily shuffled to the bottom, found the space first couple of corners, and now as they cross for lap 2 and head for lap 3, it seems to be all DBR at the front. Jesse Prees trying to get a bit of a push from Ethan Hanshu in the number 23 up at the top of the racetrack, and they're also following in suit of the 13 of Lounsluger and that number 21 of Xander Short, who's now starting to push in slowly into the top 5. Look on board with Short, driver we haven't seen in a little while in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, but always a nice welcome back. Short gonna wait the outside happen, although he's gonna get absolutely door shut by all of the DBR drivers that have been manning the front of this field. That means the inside gonna be led by the 20 of Rodney Roberts, and we'll see if any moves are made. Here comes Lounsluger darting through the middle. Looks like he won't find any support, at least now he will, with the 00 of Jesse Prees and a couple of others to assist. 13 with a nice slot in on the inside. He's gonna lead that group. So far, Lawson Peel DBR holding control out of turn 4. You see the entire field, how they're working through. One car further back in the field, that is the number 54 of Brandon Banks, kind of tailing back from his teammates. So back in 22nd, has lost the draft, and also could be the same said for Lance Hill and Colin Forster. It appears both of them might have started on pit road. There's the one in the 99. Former teammates at Stonks Motorsports. The one decided to head over to Trackhouse Racing with Adam Alishire. That 99 still in that Stonks Motorsports camp with his teammate AJ Green, and they've got a couple of others in that team as well. But some early woes here for the driver who took the race win here at this track to kick off season 5 all by himself, stranded on that lonely island back in 24th. Back up for the race lead still Lawson Peel, Joe Sanchez, undecided between the two. And remember, we talked about them going into teammate tango. They're both looking for the regular season championship, and we discussed the points that are at stake. 5 playoff points. If you win the regular season title, that's going to be really big when you get over to Bristol Motor Speedway. And just overall, that first round, we talk a lot about how you need to avoid mistakes in the playoffs, and we'll talk about that a lot more throughout the playoffs and as things move forward and once we get further developments in the standings on who's in and who's out. But to have playoff points gives you an extra bit of a buffer. So let's say if you have a poor race at Bristol to start the playoffs, you can kind of have that points cap to fall back on, and so you're not necessarily losing as much as you would if you didn't have any playoff points. And so the 12 and the 55, I mean, we've seen the 12 win stages. We've seen him win so many races, 6 total this season. But you could always want more, and drivers always want more no matter what it is. If it benefits them, they're going to take it. So far, DBR manning the charge at the front of the field, and we saw one driver slide up to the top side. That was the 76 of Tony Kibbett. Looks like they're all going to slice to the bottom, at least for a moment. Car on the wall, that's the 76 of Tony Kibbett. Got hooked by the 21 of Xander Short, and all of a sudden, that 21 car is in trouble with the 76. So it looks like some damage on the DBR Chevrolet. Not sure if that's tolling damage on the right front, but Kibbett not necessarily out of it. He's going to scrub off a lot of speed. He's going to stack up that outside lane. And one of the things that's most poignant about this situation, look at the driver third in line on that top side, the 10 of Kyle Benson. He's 17 points out from playoff contention with Kevin D'Elia. He's fighting that 53 for that last spot in. So far, Kevin D'Elia winning that group. That 10 either needs to win this race outright or just needs to have enough points and hope that D'Elia has a tough outing here from Daytona. And here's a look at your top 7 or so. All of them still single file, but it looks like AJ Green in the 48 doing a nice job of breaking that train of DBR Chevrolets. Although he's a Chevrolet himself, he's going to try and make sure he can kind of step in the middle of this group. Here's a look on board with the number 48 of AJ Green, who found himself in a great scenario last week at Darlington Raceway, where he found his way underneath Kyle Benson for the race win on the last attempt of a green-white checkered. AJ Green, as we mentioned earlier in the show, he's won here at Daytona before. He won the last time we were here in Season 4, apart from our season opener in Season 5. And so Green knows a thing or two about super speedway racing, very good at putting himself in the right place at the right time, and you're riding on board with him, currently sitting inside your top 5. So here's a look at the inside lane, led by the 13 of Craig Lounslauger, the 16 of Tyler Murray there to push, league owner, the 53 of Kevin D'Elia behind those two, and then Tyler Warner at the 33, and then they've got Ethan Hanshu, Christopher Bishop, and a couple of others that are holding that bottom lane. But so far, everybody at the top, they seem to be rather comfortable. They've got a nice gap back to those drivers that are hugging that double yellow line, and it seems like the trend only continues. We saw it at Daytona to kick off the year. We saw it at Talladega just earlier in the regular season, where as soon as you can get a lot of cars tucked up on the top side, you've probably got a really good run that you can keep and have an advantage over everybody on the bottom, because they need to get a little more organized. They need to work a little bit harder, although they've got the shorter way around the racetrack. It's just the way this draft model works. With this next gen, you can have so much more momentum on the top, running what we would call the Dale line if you're a NASCAR fan. And now here comes pushing the inside lane, 13 finding his way to 4th, might be able to toss himself into the top 3 for the first time all night long. Here comes Craig Lounslauger. Lounslauger came home in 8th at Darlington last week, at a track that he's usually performed well at in 4-wide Cup history. Didn't do the greatest, just kind of hung around there, and obviously with those green-white checkers that came out near the end, this bunched up the field. A lot of drivers got in trouble. That 13 found some hiccups of his own, but so far seems to be holding well on the bottom side of the racetrack, and he is also one of those drivers that is locked into the playoffs for this season. So we'll see that 13 try and fight for his first ever 4-wide Cup championship. Some entered the Championship 5 last season off of an outstanding win at Charlotte Motor Speedway near the end of the penultimate round. And so far, Lounslauger getting pushed well by the 16 and the company on the bottom. He'll try and coop up to the top 3, but so far, not successful in his investment. So you're looking at Drinking Bros Racing, DBR as we'll call them, all night long. They're sporting very similar paint schemes, and there is a reason why. These drivers have been doing it for a while, especially this team, and we know what DBR has been cooking. Here's a look at the entire picture and diagram of all of the DBR drivers with these IROC-inspired paint schemes. This was sent into general group chat a little earlier on tonight before we dropped the green flag here from Daytona. And they did this a while back. I believe they did it at Daytona to kick off the year. They do it at Talladega. They do it at all the super speedways. They just ride these IROC-styled paint schemes that obviously based off of IROC when they used to run the 80s Camaro Gen 3. And now with the Gen 6 Camaro ZL1, added a little twist to it with their team. And right now they are dominating this race as it stands. But that 13 might have something to say about it. He's looking to the bottom. And now we've got lap traffic up the road. On board with Sanchez into turn 3. And they're closing in on the pair of drivers who are 23rd and 24th, Lance Hill and Colin Forrester. There they are, those two cars running the very high lane, and they're going to get absolutely freight trained. Here comes DBR charging on the bottom. They switch lanes as soon as they notice the lap traffic. AJ Green going to be trapped up on the top. We'll see if he either picks up his teammate or tries to drop him off, and it looks like a bunch of scattering through the field. Nobody able to find their place right now, but a bobbling on the inside lane. But it looks like all 4 of the DBR cars that were leading this race continue to do so. But now here comes the outside. 2 of the lap cars. Hill very loose off the push from Forrester. And that could have been disastrous at a turn 4. You saw just how much momentum that 99 gained on the 1. We'll talk about that all throughout tonight as well. All the super speedway races, we've had this discussion over and over again. The pushing on the rear bumpers of these cars, especially with the Chevy Camaro. You'll see right there as Hill gets loose again off the push from the 99. These next-gen cars have curved rear bumpers. The first time we see that in NASCAR Cup Series history, or really for a very long time in NASCAR history. So when you get a push at around 195 miles an hour, you can easily unsettle the car in front of you if you give them a faulty push, if you're just a little off to the left or the right. as DBR tries to settle themselves now at the top of the track. Eric Schaefer almost making some contact with the 55 of Sanchez, and now Forrester trapped in the middle, so all the lead lap cars have to find a way to get around. Remember that 99 and the 1, both of them a lap down as it stands. So everybody else looking to get around the brigade. The 99 will move himself to the bottom, right in front of the 13. So no success to break around this lap car buffer as the top 4 have broken away on the top side as of lap number 15. Sanchez, Lawson Peel having trouble now in the middle of the track. AJ Green gets sent sideways, and we will have our first caution. Now we will. It's finally thrown in lap 15. AJ Green in trouble, and that might have been the biggest stack-up we've seen all night. A bunch of drivers involved. I saw AJ Green sideways first in that incident. We'll see exactly what happened here on the replay. Looks like right there, AJ Green moves over to the bottom right in front of Forrester. I'm not sure whether this is a faulty push. Yeah, it was. We talked about the curved rear bumpers right there. A little bit of a faulty shove. Right up into the 1, up into the 48. Kyle Benson barely getting away from that skirmish in the 16. Ends up shooting to the bottom of the racetrack again. He's one of those that's locked into the playoffs for this season. So not necessarily a worry for him, but for all of these other drivers, they end up with some trouble. Here's on board with Xander Short behind the mess. Just ends up by without any trouble, but the biggest person in that entire thing was Kyle Benson. Here's a look at how he saw it. Bit of contact, there's Lance Hill, and that's scary when a driver's coming right up in front of you, and you just have to try to avoid it as much as you can. Hop on the gas pedal and just pray that the racing gods don't deal you a bad card for the 10. He avoids any significant damage. For CJ Munier right behind him, though, not so lucky. Here's the whole field on pit road. It looks like they are led by Lawson Peel and company, so everyone in. And it looks like Kyle Benson with a gutsy call, 7.6. Looks like fuel only or just 2 tires off of the 10. And he will take the race lead. And our first proper lead change of the night. Lawson Peel, our pole sitter all night long. And there he is getting out of the lane in third. What a stop by Kyle Benson. Brandon Gillis, it appears, did not make it to his stall. He is listed as having a time down the entire pit lane, but not in his box. So we might see that 9 car come down one more time before we end up getting that restart. And there's the number 10 of Benson getting his lead. And Benson, we've seen him struggle so much throughout this season because of the injury he sustained here at the real-life Daytona International Speedway. Was working with NASCAR Xfinity Series team JD Motorsports on the 6 car. Brennan Poole behind the wheel of that car to kick off the Xfinity Series year. And then while he was working on the car in the garage, ran for something and his knee immediately blew out, tore his ACL, and spent a couple of weeks recovering, had surgery, and we obviously wished the best for the 10 of Kyle Benson. We saw him in the booth at Circuit of the Americas earlier in the season. What a blast that was. He had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun having him up here, but obviously we know his place is on the racetrack. We know his place where he's most comfortable is running around, taking these laps with the competition around him, as Gillis behind him will eventually come down for service. And this 10, it's been awesome to see him make this comeback, and now it's just all about this last race, making it into the playoffs. And we know there was a lot of heartbreak dealt to him last week at Darlington, where we talked about that loss that happened in just that couple of hundred of feet before that yellow wave. AJ Green dove on the inside in turns 3 and 4, and that was all she wrote. No other chances for the 10 to get that win. But tonight could be the turnaround for the Teamer Design Chevy Camaro. And the biggest thing as well, he's really only got one teammate out there. You don't see Tristan Bailey here tonight. Austin Reedy was about 10 to 11 hours driving from here, and he posted it earlier in Discord saying, I probably won't make it to the race. Austin Reedy not here, and so Murray Reedy Motorsports severely dwindled in their numbers, and we know how strong they are at these super speedways, especially the 10 and the 96. When they get cooped up together, it's really hard to stop them. Benson, though, kind of all by himself. He does have Tyler Murray, his teammate, and the good thing is that Murray's going to be right behind him on the restart. It's just when you have only 2 cars compared to, like, Drinking Bros Racing, they have around 7 cars in this field. It may be harder to overcome that obstacle, but we know one thing and one thing only about the driver of the 10. He's not afraid to send it. And so we know that Kyle Benson will do his dearest to try and send it as much as possible to try and get a win by any means necessary. Restart lap 19 of 100 here from Daytona. Kyle Benson, your leader, flanked by Lawson Peel in row number 1. Talked about Tyler Murray in the bottom of row number 2. Joe Sanchez, the teammate of Lawson Peel, on the top side of that second row as well. And then back in P5, Ethan Hanshu, great run so far. Eric Schaefer running in P6, row number 3. Pace cars down, green flag here with 18 laps complete from Daytona. And you can tell just how it is when you have 2 versus everyone else. 4 Drinking Bros Racing cars at the top, taking the lead away from the 10 of Kyle Benson. And it's a clear and early start for the colored IROC-inspired paint schemes. They take the lead with a command. The 20 of Rodney Roberts behind them to settle on the top 5. There's Xander Short, and a lot more separation here so far in this restart. You see everybody kind of lagging back near the end of the top 10 and even around the top 15, top 20. Nobody wants to strike this early on. It looks like not a lot of aggression being displayed. And so far that inside still being led by the 10, now by the 20. He'll bring Xander Short with him. Both of them have worked together in other leagues. Now they're going to work to the bottom. And the top 4 of Drinking Bros Racing settled at the top, looking to hold on to the lead. We may see more cars in the bottom. Benson will swerve up to the top. He will not bring his teammate with him. The 16 of Murray will stay down low. And Benson trying to do all that he can to gain as much momentum as possible. But Lawson Peel continues to stay out front on board with their defending series champion. How precise you have to be as the leader, and even how you have to be more precise. The car right behind him. As you watch the second pack led by the 13 of Craig Lautenslager. We'll touch on them in just a little bit, but you really do have to be precise if you're these cars giving pushes. Now, fortunately, all of them are on the same team. They could all be in communication so they can avoid those little mishaps and those little mistakes, but obviously they can arise at any moment. So you really have to be precise if you're Joe Sanchez. You're giving a deer push to the 12. You need to be careful you don't turn him around and ultimately spoil a DBR party as it stands. And we did talk about Craig Lautenslager, who's mired back in 13th. There he is, leading the second group. Jaden Porter in the 28 behind him. The 42 of Christopher Bishop, Brandon Gillis, Colin Forrester, and all those guys around the back half of the top 20 or so. Also, mind you, Lance Hill is the only driver right now 1 lap down or more. He's 24th. He did not get his lap back as of the caution. It was the 99 of Forrester who got that wave around, so he's going to be able to fight for lead lap position. Here he's got help from the 53 of Kevin D'Elia. Looks like AJ Green in the 48 got his car repaired. He did not use a fast repair tonight, so it's good news. I think Lance Hill is really the only one to use his fast repair, apart from the 89 of CJ Lanier, who picked up a substantial amount of damage in that last crash. There's Ethan Hanshu in the 23 on the bottom of the racetrack, trying to make something work out of turn 4. He's got the 89, the 20, and the 21 with him, and looks like Roberts and Short will back out of line, and they'll join the entire single file train that is dominating at the top. And again, led by Lawson Peel. They've got top 4, all Drinking Bros Racing talent. So far, very calm action here in the first 23 laps of this race, apart from that first crash. We did have a couple of cars get damaged. It looks like, for the most part, after the restart. Everybody wanted to be calm. Everybody wanted to be collected. Nobody wanted to be aggressive. Looks like now is the first time we'll see the aggression since that drop of the green flag on the restart. Kyle Benson, help from his teammate Tyler Murray, and they will bring in Hanshu and Munier to give him a 4-car charge, hugging that double yellow line. Will it be able to outmatch the drivers on the top? So far, non-conclusive, but they'll fall back and they'll kind of meander around where Curtis Kelly stands and Tyler Warner, and around the back half of the top 10. Craig Lounslogger and company, they have all single filed at the top. They have picked up the number 1 of Lance Hill, but now this group, led by Colin Forrester in the 99. We saw him and Kevin D'Elia move on to that outside lane, so now they're taking control and a bit of swerving on the back straightaway, but they're trying to catch up to this main group. They decided, hey, we do not want to fight with each other. We're going to lose more time if we go door to door. If we go single file, we're going to be able to really pick things up, maybe take this time away from these drivers at the front, be able to make something happen, especially if it all stays green. So it's all Lawson Peel as it stands. First quarter of this race complete. The number 12 of Peel trying to hold on to the lead with his DBR teammates to give chase. You're watching coverage of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series from Daytona.
Who wins the race? Kerwin! It is Femi Olat, the sophomore!
Simply the headache, you catch me is something you'll never do. I turn around and I love you. No motivation is needed. Look, I put myself on the pedestal. This is incredible. This how it feels at the top. Got no incentive to stop. And the change is right. And the beat and it's right back to sleep. And I use the technique that it gave me energy. All the work and I'm on it. All of the doing is about it. And the beat and it's right back to sleep. And I use the technique that it got me. I give it all that I got.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to coverage of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series and the final race of the regular season here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Kenneth Wenner to bring you the coverage here on MaxSpeedTV, and we continue to watch the drivers at the front of the field. They've been putting on a show, but it's been all too wide and somewhat single file through the main pack so far. We did watch a bit of scuffling around the second pack inside the top 15, but for the most part, the entire field calmed down, led the way by the number 12 of Lawson Peel. He's got his DBR teammates with him, and they really have not separated since. They have been unstoppable since they have hooked up together. We talked about the top 7. All of them are Drinking Bros Racing talent, and all of them really have somewhat separated, but for the most part, they're hanging in there. Now is the time where Kyle Benson starting to put on the gas pedal. He's slowly creeping up on the inside. Help from his teammate in the 16 of Tyler Murray. They're going to try and catch up the second. Maybe make this a toe-to-toe fight for the lead. Bit of a wrong push by the 89. It's going to send the 16 up the track. And that will leave Kyle Benson for dead on the bottom. He's going to have absolutely no help. Can he find some momentum on the top? He is not going to go up there. I guess he'll try and find his teammate, but for the 16 of Murray, he's severely dropped off. Now he's in the grass, right in front of the second pack. He'll get loose on the apron, but he will save it. And this race will stay green. My goodness, a really, really chaotic scenario in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Here's a look at how it all started. I said the 16 just fell back, and then the 89 went right to the back bumper. I'm not sure whether this is an engine issue, just kind of fell back and then had problems getting it settled in turns 3 and 4. And that number 16 is on pit road right now, and indeed that may be a blown engine for the 16 of Tyler Murray. He will get his fast repair, so he'll be okay, but he might fall a lap down or more. Kyle Benson now replacement help with the 21 of Xander Short on the bottom. But that is tough. If you're Kyle Benson, your teammates have just gone from 1 in this race to 0. He is all stranded by himself. We'll try and see exactly what happened to that 16 again and see whether it was exactly an engine issue that caught the camo Pit Viper Chevy Camaro in the middle of the corner. Here's the look on board with Murray. See right there, the engine just kind of falters. He loses the revs. And you see how it fluctuates at around 6,500 RPM. Really acting strange, and that car looked like it had completely blown up. And the 16 of Murray now a lap down as we'll look back up to the front of the field. Joe Sanchez still giving the push to his teammate Lawson Peel as they continue to hold on to the lead of lap number 32. And that second pack slowly starting to pick up some pace. And here's the duo between Ethan Hanshu and CJ Munier as they both got caught off. And there's the 16 of Murray finally rejoining the track. But here's everyone else. 12th on back, led by AJ Green, trying to make sure they can get around. And now that makes Murray the third car that's 1 lap down or more. The other one, bring that to Colin Forrester, who I believe had trouble while we were on break. Here he is behind the main pack. So he's been just lapped right now. And he pitted recently. He just pitted a lap ago. So not sure exactly what the problems might have been for the 99. But maybe you could attribute it to the same problem that we just saw with that 16. The engine overheats. It gets a little bit too hot and it blows up right in front of your face. And if you have a fast repair, then good luck trying to get back in this race. You'll fall a lap down, and if you don't have a fast repair, then your race is basically over. Here from Daytona. We talked about it at Talladega. We've mentioned it at all the super speedways throughout this season, just the fact that you can easily overheat. If you carry too much speed behind the car in front of you, you don't get clean air on your radiator and your nose. You could overheat the engine. It starts hitting the reds in the numbers, and then it could easily blow up right in front of your face and in the middle of traffic, which is probably the worst situation to ever happen. As here comes Kyle Benson, charge inside for second at the tri-oval. Now back to the corner. Looks like he won't have that momentum. And a bit of a sluggish effort there from Xander Short. Maybe just trying to pick up the momentum here out of turn 2, and he'll try to give the push. See what he can do to get him back to the race lead. And it looks like for the most part, categorically unsuccessful. And make that the charge all the way through P10 on back. They're all single file for the most part. There's Tyler Murray with the 6 of Michael Newball behind him on the top side. But right there, the 6 is going to duck underneath. And this entire group trying their dearest to catch up to the people who have been leading this race since the very beginning. On board with Craig Lounslager in the 13. He tries to hold out behind Lance Hill. Lance Hill, driver who came home in, it wasn't here in the running order at Darlington Raceway a week ago, so wasn't there for the activities, but his teammate Colin Forrester was, and Forrester ended up in the P19 position after starting 12. Not a great running for him. And then you look at the driver in front of this whole group, AJ Green, who ultimately became the winner. Here's 21st place Kevin D'Elia. Remember, he's in that fight with Kyle Benson for the last spot in the playoffs. 17 points separating them before we drop the green flag this evening. So far, it is 18 spots given to the number 10 in Benson. So if this race ended now, we might see Kyle Benson in his last playoff spot. It looks like he'll try to be aggressive to get to the lead. A bit of a wobble there by Schaefer at the exit of turn 2. Looks like for the moment, DBR continues to hold out strong, but we've seen somewhat accordion effects and back and forth action from that bottom. We've seen Benson catch up to about third or second. Then the run kind of falters out right here. You see that big space between himself and the 21. It takes a little while for Short and company to get wound up with that minimal help on the bottom compared to the larger numbers on the top side. And it seems to be working to keep them there within range, but it really hasn't been enough to get him to the lead entirely and make it a formidable challenge against your defending champion, who continues to stay out in front. And he is burning the most fuel up, and we may see pit stops happen relatively soon. It's already lap 37 of 100. These drivers have not come in for pit road, or rather they did around 20 laps ago, so we may see a little bit of a run, maybe extend past halfway in tonight's 100 lap feature. And so far, only one caution this evening, with that first big incident involving AJ Green, Seiju Munier, and a handful of others. We'll take a look back through the entire grouping that is led by AJ Green in this 48. All of them single file, and it just looks like they kind of want to hang out. They do not want to be aggressive. They really don't want to push the issue. Either they catch the drivers in the front or they don't. It's not necessarily a life or death scenario. They just want to stay here where they are and just kind of hold their own. Be very calm at that single file train in the field, and you can really avoid incidents happening if you're just single file. Now, obviously, we've seen drivers get into the back of others, and then it causes some drivers to get loose, might end up in a crash, but when you're single file, everyone's running rather conservatively, and maybe some of them are saving fuel throughout this green flag run. They're probably just kind of staying where they are. They don't want to push the issue. They don't want to be so antsy and desperate for position, so they just kind of hang back and say, all right, we'll let this race come to us. Big run by Kyle Benson. He'll take the lead at the stripe in the tri-oval. That was a monstrous run out of the inside lane, and finally, after multiple punches, they have got a knockout on the DBR domination. Rodney Roberts, Xander Short giving the push to the 10, and Kyle Benson in control here at Daytona. That was a big move by Benson and Short. They abandoned Roberts and Tyler Warner on the bottom. They take slots of the first two spots at the top of the track. And DBR with, so far, no answer to get back at him. There's a lap car on the bottom, and that's going to help Kyle Benson even further. Kevin D'Elia trapped all the way back in 21st. He'll drop one lap down, and so the chances for Kyle Benson of entering the Season 5 4 Wide Cup playoffs are looking all that much better. So Benson takes over the lead. Here's the gap back to P10 at around 2.2 seconds to Tyler Warner. So things are crunching up just a little bit. We may see more drivers in this mix. And the infighting rather, between all those that are around the top 8 or so now have allowed AJ Green and company to slowly pick themselves back up. Again, all single file, running conservatively, not being aggressive. They're also not losing time, and they're closing in at around 2 seconds. And with the fact that Tyler Warner, Curtis Kelly, and company might just fall off this train as DBR went back to the front. Looks like they found their way to the bottom and got around the 10 and the 21. Who, by the way, are going to try and attempt once more to get to the bottom and get around the DBR train. They're just allowing the 48 and company to slowly creep in. Not by much lap by lap, but as we approach the halfway mark, it may just be under a second and 7/10 or maybe even a second and a half. So far at around 1.8 seconds in closing, and they've set miraculously faster laps than those at around 8th or 9th place. Rodney Roberts, Tyler Warner, 46.79, 46.874. For AJ Green at the front of this pack, 46.326. Lounslogger behind him at a 46.331. Lance Hill a lap down at a 46.338. So they're catching in by a couple of tenths of a second a lap. And as everybody trails to the bottom of the racetrack, we might just see our first attempt at green flag pit stops here from Daytona. And if you're DBR, probably so comfortable staying in the front. You've got at least 4 cars with you. You know you've got teammate help. You know you've got things to assist you and things to fall back on. And what's going to be even bigger here as drivers do come down pit road soon if we stay green is that with teammates, you have drivers to come down pit road with, and to exit. That's one thing that's pivotal about green flag stops at these super speedways, as large as they are, where you need draft, you need other drivers around you to be as fast as you can be. You need to have people with you coming into the stall and coming out of it. You do not want to have separation to make it 2-car trains, 3-car trains, or even just, at worst case scenario, a driver all by themselves. If you're Lawson Peel, Sanchez, Schaefer, and Priest, obviously on the same team, they can work together to come down pit road on the same lap. They can also work down the strategy to get out of pit road collectively, be able to have already a 4-car train in the draft coming out of pit road, and that is obviously a heavy advantage over everyone else, where they don't really have a lot of teammates around them. They have to kind of earn the respect of the drivers around them for the most part, and they just have to communicate with each other when they're coming in. And some might not have the same philosophy. Some might want to come in later. Some might want to stay out as long as possible. Some might want to come in early. So there's a lot of moving parts that goes into green flag strategies. But when you've got a team that's all on the same page, your chances of success coming out of the pit lane and cycling back out front are much, much higher. And there's Curtis Kelly kind of getting bolted out of this entire group, although Xander Schwartz will open the space. Rodney Roberts left him there, and a bit of a bobble there in the back straightaway heading to turn 3. And they continue to scatter around turns 3 and 4. Very scary push from Roberts to Kelly. And now as we approach lap 44, there's the gap from AJ Green back to Colin Forrester. That 99 is a lap down, but he is a part of this first pack regardless. So he will start to close in. That 48 will, now within 9/10 of a second. As soon as he starts to grab the draft, we may see a race on our hands, and the entire field basically bunched up back together. We only have 20 out of the 24 cars on the lead lap so far, and fortunately, none of them have DNF'd. All of them are still in this race, whether it be a lap down or not. And they are all hugging the double yellow line. They are anticipating green flag stops as we approach 5 laps to go from the official halfway mark of our 100-lap race from Daytona. And so far, no indications that any one of the front runners are coming in for a stop. We are going to expect DBR to come in collectively. We might also see Brandon Banks, Tony Kivett, and those other DBR drivers that are caught in the mid-pack to come in with these ones at the front, just so they can have the same strategy on the same team. We might see some different plays be put out by the squad and by everyone else. We'll just see exactly what happens. Here's an onboard look with the number 33 of Tyler Warner, the driver who has been victorious here at Daytona a couple of seasons back, and I believe it was season number 3. Well, this 33 got to victory lane, either that or season 2, where he knows a thing or two about leading races at Daytona here on green flag circumstances. Now, here comes the entire front pack heading for pit road. Tyler Warner among those heavy on the brakes. He'll dive in. He might be able to make pit road speed limit. It looks like he does. No significant problems from anyone in the field. And it appears nobody's really staying out. Everyone's coming all together this time. Lap 47. Probably looking at fuel only for a majority of these drivers, and it looks like that is the case. Some at around 13, 12 seconds. It looks like 0.7 seconds for Jesse Priest, so not sure if there was a problem there for the 00, but that might be pivotal. Kyle Benson punctured himself in this battle. He is now 4th in this group. And what's interestingly enough about this set of green flag stops, nobody stayed out. Everybody all came in on the same lap, so everybody on equal playing field. And all of them, and look at this long single file train try to move up through the gears and get back settled here at Daytona. Gap now, Lawson Peel and Eric Schaefer putting it on to the rest of the field. But so far, things are looking awfully great for Drinkin' Bros Racing here in Daytona Beach. More on the other side for the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series and the final regular season event here on MaxSpeedTV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Who wins the race? Kerwin! It is Demi Olat, the sophomore!
Tipsy the header, you catch me in something you'll never do. I turn around and I love you. No motivation is needed. Look, I put myself on the pedestal. This is incredible. This how it feels at the top. Got no incentive to stop. Can't change the and the beat and it's right back to sleep. And I use the technique that it give me energy. All the work and I'm on it here. Part of the team is a body here. And the beat and it's right back to sleep. And I use the technique that it got me here. I give it all that I got.
Wanted the best, you got him for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws. Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
Welcome back to the Daytona International Speedway here for the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series and the final race of the regular season. And talk about regular season, well, we have to talk about the regular season championship, and here's how it all stacks up. The 55 of Joe Sanchez and the 12 of Lawson Peel, they're both fighting for the regular season title. Of course, both of them are locked into the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs, but with this race tonight, Joe Sanchez might be able to win it. He's riding second, and it looks like Lawson Peel has dropped off to P6. That's the fight right now. Here's a look at your race lead as it stands. There's Eric Schaefer, Joe Sanchez in second. Kyle Benson has found his way to third. Jesse Preece in fourth. Rodney Roberts lighting up the top five, and the 12 of Lawson Peel, the last one in this first train of cars. And then AJ Green and company have all filed suit 7th on back, but they really haven't been able to find that much success. Only about a 5-car train. And this one led by the 53 of Kevin D'Elia. Now remember, we talk about the point standings and how things will work out for the final spot into the playoffs, and that is decided between the 53 of D'Elia and the 10 of Benson. With D'Elia's situation right now, he is 23rd a lap down. Kyle Benson is running well within the top 3. Benson finished second after starting 10th last week at Darlington. Kevin D'Elia was not in that race, so he sat out, lost a good amount of points, and for the 10 of Kyle Benson, really gained a lot on that stretch. And tonight, right now, it is looking like things are stepping in his favor. If he stays where he is, and if D'Elia remains trapped a lap down in 23rd, that last spot will go to the 10 of Benson, and it won't necessarily be a clutch win to get him back in, but it will be a clutch performance to send him into the postseason once again. He is a driver that has made the championship 5 before. He has found struggles there, and he did make the playoffs last season before exiting in the first round, as it looks like Eric Schaefer has some connectivity issues. He's going to drop to the apron and let the entire front pack by. It's blinking just a little bit, but courteous enough to get out of the way. Looks like he'll be at the back end of this first track pack, led by now Joe Sanchez with Tyler Warner on the back end. So we saw everybody pit at the same exact lap, but around lap 47, And it's miraculous enough to see just how different things are from the packs. Here's Christopher Bishop sitting at 11th. He's got a 4-car train right with him, and then 3 cars behind them, led by CJ Munier, Michael Newbraw, and there's Brandon Banks in 16th. Then Colin Forrester, Tyler Murray, Tony Kibbett, and Brandon Gillis. And so despite everybody coming into the same lap and coming out in the same lap as well, I guess the differences were that we saw a lot of separation. Tyler Warner has problems at this stage. He's on the back straightaway sideways. He'll get the apron, and for the second time tonight, caution flag is out from Daytona. And what happened with the 33? Looks like got loose. And this will bunch the field up. We'll see if anyone comes down to the pit lane. This was with Eric Schaefer in the number 3. Remember, the 3 had backed off due to blinking at the front of the field. I'm not sure whether they had contact. I think they did, as this 3 car came up on the outside. Yes, he did, and they both made a little bit of contact. That was enough to get that 33 all sideways, and he hit the grass, clips it, goes whip-tailing, and then around he went at the apron, turn 3 grass, and it's a harmless side spin for Warner, who's the driver, a lap down right now. But that is enough to bring out the yellow. And for the entire field, we look at them now packed in behind the iRacing official pace car. So I guess all that strategy, all that separation there from everybody when they came down pit road at lap 47, all for naught. We'll see if they come down this time by. We might either have a split decision or might just have everybody come in. Sanchez is going to flirt with that decision for now. He'll come in. He'll bring basically everybody with him. We should see the only ones stay out be the ones that want the wave around, and that wave around will go to the 53 of Kevin D'Elia. Obviously, going to remain out on racetrack, but everybody else coming in for service once again. Looks like tires for Kyle Benson. He's lifting up the jacks. The same goes for the 20 of Rodney Roberts. Quick and out goes Jesse Priest. Joe Sanchez not too far along there, and he'll lead him out of pit road at a 6.6 second stop. And mostly 6-second stops for everyone in the top 4. Rodney Roberts at 7.9. He did take 2 tires on his run. And so it just appears that fuel only seems to be the call for everyone. Some of them are already wasting some of their tire sets, which isn't necessarily all that useful here at Daytona because this track isn't a tire killer. This track doesn't require that much grip. But nonetheless, good tires could mean some good restarts where you won't necessarily have wheel spin, and where if you do get loose, you have a better chance of catching the car once things go awry. For the most part, though, everyone going for fuel only at the front. And just like this race started, it's a Drinkin' Bros Racing driver leading the field. For Joe Sanchez, this will be his first win since Gateway, a race number 15, if he can hold on to it, obviously. Still a long way to go. More than 43 laps left in this event. But just letting you know the history of Sanchez, and he came out of that Darlington race with a top 3 despite his struggles, and we saw him involved in the caution with around 2 laps to go with Austin Reedy, where he got punted into the corner. So it was a great recovery for Sanchez, and again, in that contention for the 5 extra playoff points if he can win this regular season championship tonight. And obviously a win would help things dramatically. So we'll restack them and have a restart here at lap number 59. Joe Sanchez, a new race leader this evening. Jesse Priest on the outside of row number 1. Lawson Peel and Eric Schaefer, those joining them in row number 2. And then Rodney Roberts to lock up the top 5. What a race it's been for Rodney Roberts so far tonight. Kyle Benson currently in P6 after being a race high P1 and P2 before that yellow flew. Xander Short in the 21 is 7th. 8th place will go to Jaden Porter. 9th to Christopher Bishop and Craig Lautenslager. Currently, the last one inside your top 10. Ready to go back green here from the World Center Racing. Those who are tuning in here to MaxSpeedTV, welcome to our broadcast. And for those who have been tuning in since the start, we hope you're enjoying the show. It has been a pretty good race so far. A lot of solid action and a lot of green flag racing as well. It's all you could hope for. And it looks like caution will be extended for a certain reason. Not sure if there was an accident. Further back in the field, I did see one driver plummet through the order. We're not sure whether there was any significant problems. Looks like Lance Hill's on the apron. Now we'll get the one to green. So there was a problem with the one machine. And was this contact with Brian Dixon? Yes. Brian Dixon just gets into the rear end. The one goes into the outside wall. Well, this night's gone from bad to worse for the one car. It looks like he does not take it down pit road. He has already used his fast repair tonight. And so an interesting development there for the one of Lance Hill. There's the damage on the right front. And that will affect him significantly. He might be okay in the draft. But if these tracks, as big as they are, when you need aerodynamics to be fast, those little crinkles and those dents certainly won't help. And for Hill, him and Forrester had started on pit road at lap number 1. Did not get an early caution. They fell a lap down early. Had to pick themselves back up after a couple of yellows where that one car was able to find his way back in the mix. But now it looks like he's got damage, and he's going to be rolling back in 22nd when we get the green flag. One car now, one lap down or more. That is the 33 of Tyler Warner, who was involved to bring out our most recent caution flag. Biggest question so far tonight has been, can anyone stop the DBR train? So far, the answer has been no. We've seen a couple of times where they have challenged, but ultimately it has come to no fruition for them. And it will once again be a Drinkin' Bros Racing lockout on the front row and the second. Pace car is down. The 55 will have discretion. In the restart zone, we're back under green from Daytona. And a good jump by Sanchez. Moves up to the top to allow Jesse Priest to follow right behind him. And here comes Peel back for the lead. Solid restart on the bottom with help from Ronnie Roberts. Roberts going to stack up Xander Short, giving a big push on the back straightaway. They've got Porter, Bishop, Loudslugger on the bottom. And it's an even charge for the race lead into turn 3. We'll get 40 laps to go. There's Peel moving up top. Contact for third. That was the 21 into the 55. It looks like nobody gets as unsettled as expected. We stay green. And the 12 of Peel will hold on to the front. Rodney Roberts now going to man up the clean air on the bottom. And that was so close there for the 21 to Xander Short. Boy, he's been aggressive off of this restart. We saw the big push to the 20. He was giving a push to the 12, pushing the pusher, and now trying to bring the 20 back to the front. He's been a great pusher all night long. No question about it. He got Kyle Benson to around second place. But he has been wobbling all over the racetrack, and that 21 car trying to coop up with the 20 to get the Toyota out in front. So far, that inside has no match for the top, who continues to be as cohesive as ever. Jaden Porter moves up top, highest we've seen Porter all night long. Move him into the top 6. Is on board with Porter, the superhero paint scheme that Alex Bowman ran earlier in 2022 rather. He's on the outside lane and staying there behind the pack of DBR talent. Ronnie Roberts going to pick up to around 5th or 4th. He's going to maintain even with that 28 entering turn 3. And for that inside lane, you have to try something different. You really have to do a better job maybe of aligning with each other and giving the pushes out of the corners and on the straightaways. Or maybe it's just a matter of fact that they cannot stop them regardless of what they do, because if you've got more numbers at the top, you're probably going to have better runs. You're probably going to be better off in front. And everybody else who seems to be struggling, and looks like less cohesiveness with pushing on the bottom. It looks like the top three on the inside, those three are really the only ones trying, and Christopher Bishop and company are just hanging back there. They don't want to do anything crazy. Maybe a little bit uncomfortable with pushing at the front. And now here comes Jaden Porter to swivel to the bottom and make that a challenge for around P4. They're going to stagnate it around Eric Schaefer in the 3 car. And we'll see if they have more of a chance to get to the front in a turn 3. Michael Newbron in the outside wall. We'll go 3 wide. Near the back of the field, looks like we'll stay green. No significant troubles, and it's been a poor night for Michael Newbron so far. It's just been hanging around and not a driver eligible for the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs this year. 42 points to the low. And behind the cut line going into this evening's race. So far, things have not been going as well as planned for the 6 Chevrolet Camaro. Here comes Porter with a challenge on the inside again into turn 3. And this one might be good enough to get him to the point. Jaden Porter, new race leader for the World Center of Racing. A phenomenal push by the 20 of Rodney Roberts. And for the first time tonight, Jaden Porter sees the light of day at the front. Will lead him to 36 laps to go. And Roberts all over the place trying to get himself settled. It'll bring the 12 back into the fight. And all of a sudden, DVR takes control and takes the reins. Once again, your top 3 all single file, pushing away from everyone else, and going to get the 3 of Schaefer cleared as well. And we saw in our last Championship 5 in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, 2 of these drivers in the top 5 were in that championship running. Lawson Peel, the inevitable champion. Eric Schaefer in the 3. And now AJ Green looks to the inside. He'll get up in front of the 28 of Jaden Porter. And again, making more cars on the inside, having more of a collective push. They got to the race lead for a moment, got stripped away from them in a matter of seconds. But can AJ Green find his way back to the front? Well, we've seen AJ Green just kind of hanging around all night long. We know he's solid at these super speedways. You know what he can pull out of his bag. It's a pretty deep one for this beef machine, the 48. So far, gonna hope that the 28 can give him a solid enough push. That was a little squirmish there. He got to the rear bumper and right to the right end of it. And almost got him sideways, but it's a push good enough to get him even with Lawson Peel. Bit of a disconnection on the top side and into the trial. Well, AJ Green has a look underneath Lawson Peel for P1. Remember, AJ Green had to pick up his fast repair, got caught up in the midst of an incident, or actually didn't use the fast repair, but got his car damage repaired after the incident to bring out our first yellow. And now all of a sudden, with a miraculously clean Chevy Camaro, he's got a shot at the lead, still side by side with Peel entering turn 3. You can tell more consistent pushes on the rear end for Jaden Porter as the 48 will swivel up top and take the lead away, and will try to stifle the control that DBR has had up there all night long, although it'll open the door up for Jaden Porter. And he's got the push from the 20 to get him to turn 1. Closest action we've seen between both lanes all night long, and AJ Green looking to hold the fort. But it will not work in turns 1 and 2. Jaden Porter back to the lead, and he'll go up top. Rodney Roberts to the inside. This racing so far is stellar from Daytona, but we do know these drivers at least need one more pit stop before they can make it to the end of this race, because at lap 68, they're closing in. It's going to be lap 12 of their stint so far, as there's Kyle Benson, third car in the inside lane. Didn't talk about him much on the restart. As Rodney Roberts for Baca Yalbuena Racing takes the lead here at Daytona International Speedway. Again, we are anticipating them to come down pit road at least one more time. It is cutting it very close, whether they can make it all the way to the end, and they pitted under that last yellow, so either they're going to have to hope for another caution flag to arise out of absolutely nowhere, or they're probably going to have to look for a green flag stop to get them to the end. And maybe if this race stays green, it's going to be all about how they position themselves in the right place. Kyle Benson moved up top. He was third on that inside, now making the lead car on the top side. The push from the 28 might get him back to the race lead after all. And it looks like at this stage of the race, we'll cross the line for lap 70 and for 30 laps to go. Looks like a lot of these drivers way more comfortable with giving these pushes, a lot more comfortable with being a little more aggressive and being more consistent. Jaden Porter has been an absolutely phenomenal pusher and is holding out on the 10. And we'll give him the lead. And we talked about, again, the lack of teammates for the 10 and Benson. There's teammates right in second and third. Both of them, Porter and Rodney Roberts for Bacalhau Bueno Racing, they easily can work together at the front. Right now, they're not. But for the 10 of Kyle Benson, looks like maybe he has earned the respect of all of his employees. The 12 appeals sideways and around, hard into the outside wall. The big one here at Daytona strikes first. Our biggest crash tonight involves our most dominant drivers. Lawson Peel and company involved in a big crash in turns 3 and 4, and we talked about it. They might be looking for a caution after all to give us a chance to make it to the end on fuel. And a huge hit for Rodney Roberts. Collects Jesse Prees and a handful of others with him. And here's another look at how it all began. A big push by Eric Schaefer. Looked like Peel wanted to find the space in the middle, 3 wide. AJ Green went over to block. And that 12 got into the 20. Hooked him sideways. There's the 23 machine of Ethan Hanshoe involved in it. There's Rodney Roberts going to a stall. We'll try and see exactly how this all unfolded from Roberts' perspective. That's a hard hit for Roberts there, who had led 1 lap and was out in front. Was doing such a good job of keeping his nose clean, and Roberts now going to have to burst the fast repair this time by. He has taken it down pit road, and he's used the fast repair, so he'll be okay. Unfortunately, no drivers out of this race for now, but that does hand the lead off to Kyle Benson. There he is, bringing everybody on pit road with him. Quick stops by Benson and company at around 7-8 seconds. And Benson out in front. And we did talk about that 17-point gap that he had to the last spot in the playoffs. His competitor, Kevin D'Elia, still beneath the top 20. Looks like now he'll gain some spots as he stays out. Or that he's going to come out of pit road, but he will still gain spots regardless. He'll be in the top 15. And so maybe things could get rather close between the 10 and the 53. Now, at halfway, we did give points. It was at least one stage Kyle Benson was there at around this group, but Kevin D'Elia back in the top 25, at least when we did get that halfway mark of the race. So Kyle Benson, after this event, might just have enough points. And if he can win this race, obviously it erases any concern for points. But if he does not get to victory lane tonight, he might just have the best shot possible at getting in at the very last second. It'll be the second season in a row that he does that. If it happens, we still do have 28 laps to go here from Daytona. And so a lot still could be said. For Lawson Peel, first incident we see him involved in all night long. He's only going to fall back to 10th. He did use his fast repair, and the same is the case for his teammates that did get involved in that accident. And so for all of them, race is not over. The good thing here tonight from Daytona, no DNFs. So now all the drivers are on the lead lap. So Lance Hill, who's going to pick up the field in 24th, he's going to be on the lead lap. And when you go all the way up to Kyle Benson, It's the exact same, so good news all around. No drivers have put it beneath the wall. Everyone has seen a lot of great racing so far tonight. And so we'll see how this next restart plays out and just how aggressive things will get in the next 27 trips around the 2.5-mile Trioval Super Speedway. Kyle Benson back in control of the field for Murray Reedy Motorsports. Baqueal Bueno Racing represented by Jaden Porter, who has done a nice job of moving up through the field as of late. Xander Short, AJ Green, going to be third and fourth. In row number 2 is a bit of a scuffle there. Tyler Murray getting around Tyler Warner, having to duck out at the last second, just swerve dramatically to the apron. It looks like they're okay. No damage for either of them. We've seen how good Xander has been of a pusher to this 10 car, so maybe good news after all. That 48, though, of AJ Green has been silent but effective. And Brandon Gillis, first time we see him inside the top 6 all night long. Good news for the 9 car. Curtis Kelly, also a quiet driver this evening, but the Chevrolet Camaro will be in P5 when we go back to green flag action. "27 laps left in this opportunity for Kyle Benson to enter the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs. And for everyone else, will they try to steal it away from him? Pace cars down into the restart zone. Kyle Benson back to the green flag. And Benson immediately goes to the top. Short look to follow up, but he's going to go down low. He'll take the race lead. A big shove by Jaden Porter out of turn 2. And we'll see just how much that evens them, and most importantly, what DBR is going to do in this entire scenario. They're all split up by a couple of cars between each other. The highest running DBR driver, Michael Newbra, running in P6. Kyle Benson takes over the lead in turns 3 and 4 with help from Porter. And boy, have we seen great pushes out of this 28. Him and Xander Short have been some of the more efficient pushers this evening, especially in this second half. And now into the final 25 laps from Daytona. Can the inside lane respond? They'll try in 1 and 2. Here comes Short with help from Curtis Kelly. All good signs for Kyle Benson and company. They continue to hold out in the lead. And while we get this race inside the final 25, how about we turn up the sounds from Daytona and go crank it up on MaxSpeedTV. Where did Colin Forster come from? Out of a cannon, the 99 goes to P1. Forster started this race a lap down. Gillis in the middle of the pack. He gets hooked by the 13. Around they go. They'll stack up at the Trioval, and the caution comes out with 23 laps remaining. That's a big one. Joe Sanchez, CJ Munier, Brian Dixon, Curtis Kelly among those involved. Let's take Brandon Banks, the 42 of Christopher Bishop. There's Jesse Priest in the 00, also collected in it. And the caution is out at lap number 78. And it all started with Brandon Gillis, and we saw that huge run by Colin Forrester. I want to look at that first before we get to anything else, because Colin Forrester had come out of absolutely nowhere. We saw him at the main top side here behind Michael Newbraw, and then went down low, took opportunity, and the 21 will give him a huge push to get him closer to the race lead, and he'll just use the lanes to his advantage. Then came down the 48. Forrester found his way around him. His teammate worked with him for a while. Kyle Benson noticed the momentum down low, decided to block it, but then here came the 99. Just absolutely out of nowhere. And the next lap is when this caution comes out. The 99 uses the momentum off the 48's rear bumper. And a big shove by Xander Short. Just takes him right up there to the top of the 21. And they'll go right there. They split the difference. Brandon Gillis into the outside wall right there. And you saw it on the crank it up. And right there was how this 99 got to the lead. But here's where the caution started. With the 9 of Brandon Gillis. Just kind of got stacked up with Xander Short. Got bounced off of the 48. And then got into the outside wall after getting hooked by the 13. And there's all the drivers involved. There's the 55 of Sanchez. The 54 of Banks. The 03 of Dixon. Bishop, D'Elia, Lautenschlager. Among those that are caught up in it. Here's another look at the accident. The 9 swerves down right into the 13. And then back down the track into Curtis Kelly. And nothing the 71 could do to get around it. And that's almost the entire back half of the field involved in this. Here's a look on board from Lautenschlager. Right there, he can't check up in enough time. He gets dragged down into the incident. And then around he goes. Roof flaps come up. He's coming back up the hill. And tags into the incident a little bit late. And that's our biggest crash so far, apart from Forrester, who's in the race lead. Scar-free, rather. And unscathed. And he somehow leads this race as we get closer to 20 laps to go. Forrester, by the way, was the winner last time we were here to kick off Season 5. And so an unbelievable job to use the lanes and use the draft to his advantage. There's Tyler Murray, and we just saw him in the YouTube chat, just said, killed. Looks like that car is toast. Now, the good news for the 16, he's locked into the playoffs just by virtue of making this race tonight. There was less than 30 cars on the entry list, so Murray will fight for a title when we get to Bristol Motor Speedway next week. Or in a couple of weeks from now. We'll take a short break. But he is 22nd, 1 lap down. Looks like CJ Munier also with a similar fate right behind him. Brian Dixon, our first official DNF of the night, unfortunately, as he ends up 24th out of the cars tonight from Daytona. So Colin Forrester leads this race at what's going to be lap number 81 of 100. Kyle Benson to fight against him on the bottom side. AJ Green in your top 3. Xander Short in 4th. Eric Schaefer inside your top 5. Then goes Jaden Porter, Lance Hill, Ethan Hanshoe in the 23. Kevin D'Elia in the 53. And then Michael Newbraw rounding out your current top 10. Now, again, we talk about the situation between Kevin D'Elia and Kyle Benson. Those 17 points that they had to deal with at difference. D'Elia with that last spot in. Benson the first car out. The halfway mark points might just be good enough to get Benson in. We will get official confirmation once this race is over, but now less of a difference in position between those two. Benson is 2nd, but D'Elia is not far behind in 9th. So that's only a 7-point spread between those two via just positions on the racetrack by itself without any extras added. We'll see if Benson can make the miracle happen and win this race, although he's got Stocks Motorsports, the strength on the top. The 48 going to give support to his teammate when we get to the restart here on lap 81. Going to be inside the final 19 laps from Daytona. We've seen a mix of green flag action and some cautions, and it appears no trouble from here on out to make it to the end of this race. Green flag is back in the air. Colin Forrester with a head of steam as he leads the field to turn 1. Big push by Xander Short to get Benson out in front at the exit of turn 2. But again, watch that high side. Bring the momentum back to their favor. The 48 with a big push by the 3. They'll coop up against that 99 and bring him back to the front. We're dead even for the lead in turn 3. And things absolutely insane right now. For those running up at the front, the closest we've seen the inside and outside all night long. And somehow, some way, Colin Forrester keeps control of the lead. Kyle Benson with a push down low. And the 99 leads him back to turn 1 and more cars on the top. Looks like a big sack up there, that third car on the outside, Eric Schaefer. Here's a look on board from Lance Hill, who also was a lap down tonight. And now inside the top 8. What a race it's been for Hill. He started so deep in this field. We didn't really see him on the charts at all on the starting grid. And a bit of a fall off there on the inside. Miscommunication, 3 wide and around the top 10. That's Jaden Porter forced in the sucker hole. He'll find a way to slot himself up top. Xander Short gonna look to give the push back to the 10. But is it a little too late? Here comes the 42 to the bottom for the top 5. Porter and company looking for some support. Now the 28 gets in front of the 42. They've got help from the 13. Porter now slides into the top 5. Now what a move by Porter to get himself there. And they're still trying to beat the drivers up at the very front. DBR, no domination any longer. Bit of a switch to the bottom. Eric Schaefer looks to get into the top 3 further. He'll go up to the top again. Forrester to block, and AJ Green down low. And a huge door shut. Sent by the 99. The 48 finds his way back to second. Jaden Porter locks up the podium. He'll go to the top. AJ Green will stay at the bottom. Colin Forrester will block again at the top. And he might find himself in a sucker hole if he makes a mistake. Here comes Porter to the lead with 17 laps to go. The sophomore driver, Jaden Porter, looking for his first win since Dover a couple of weeks back. As Colin Forrester, AJ Green, they switch to the bottom. And Kevin D'Elia has now found himself back in the top 5. And guess who's in the top 3? The 23 of Ethan Hanshu, the rookie driver. Heading for 16 laps to go. Porter way sideways to the exit of 4. A bit of a contact error by Schaefer. And somehow we stay green. And that was huge there for Jaden Porter. You did not want to lose that race car. Eric Schaefer got a little antsy. Now he darts to the bottom. He tries to find some help. He will not. He'll take the lead for a moment. Now here comes Hanshu with support out of turn 2. These cars are all over the place. Colin Forrester gets booted out of the way. He tries to find his way back. Car around. It's Xander Short. And caution is out with 16 to go. A harmless spin for Xander Short, but we're under caution again. It was all the way back in this pack, right behind Kyle Benson. They had kind of gotten shuffled out of the mix after being in the front for a little while. Let's see what happened with this 21. I believe just gets stacked up here as Forrester and company slow down. And right there, yeah, just got caught up in a sandwich and then just gets slightly hit by the 54 Brandon Banks, it appears. And right on board, Brandon Banks indeed was behind Xander Short. Indeed was the driver who made contact. We'll see right here. As soon as Forrester gets to the bottom, AJ Green wants to let him back in. Just a big checkup. And they got everybody almost in it. And that could have been way worse. But only one car in that accident. And Xander Short goes for a sideways spin. He'll accrue no damage from that accident. But the caution nonetheless will wave. Short will have the opportunity to get back through the field, with Eric Schaefer leading the command with 14 laps to go when we cross the line next. And now we've seen two different sides of this race. No doubt about it. We saw a very conservative opening stage of the race as Ethan Hanshew fakes for pit road and gets nobody on it. But we saw two different sides of this race unfold right before our eyes. We did see a very conservative, very clean first stage where DBR looked like they were unstoppable with the cars they had up in the front after Lawson Peel took the pole in qualifying. And then it just stayed green for most of the race. We did have a couple of cautions. The chaos did turn up a little bit. Drivers did get more comfortable, that's for sure. It really has stepped up ever since lap number 1. Here until lap number 87. And then now we're just seeing all-out chaos. Drivers are now being more aggressive. They're now sending blocks more frequently. And they're trying to give each other harder and harder pushes. And whether that's working, it's been kind of topsy-turvy. It's been yes or no, hit or miss every now and then. And unfortunately, our most recent caution is not our biggest. It looks like CJ Munier will join the list of cars that are DNF tonight. He will be 8 laps down and counting. Tyler Murray, like we said, his car so far pretty heavily damaged. He is 20 seconds and also 8 laps down and counting. He is still on pit road getting his car fixed. So caution that again here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, but don't go anywhere. More on the other side here on MaxSpeedTV.
You wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws! Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
The World Center of Racing ready for a showdown here in the final 13 laps here from Daytona. Kenneth Bono to bring you a call here on MaxSpeedTV, and here's what it looks like. Eric Schaefer at the front row with Ethan Hanshew, the rookie driver in his debut race. In P2, Jaden Porter inside your top 3. Kevin D'Elia now wrapped up in 4th. Curtis Kelly, the last one inside your top 5. And boy, has this race been filled so far in this top 5 with drivers who are just kind of hanging around and waiting for their moment to strike all night long, except for Schaefer. He had been up front all night up until this point. But Hanshew, Porter, D'Elia, and Kelly have been around the mid-pack. They've struggled a bit this evening in the pack. But now is their opportunity to win this race. And same deal goes for Michael Newbraw as well. In P5, he'll be on the outside of row number 3, actually P6. And then those Colin Forster, AJ Green, the two Stocks Motorsports drivers, doubled up in row number 4. We'll have a restart with exactly 12 laps to go with this 100-lap race from Daytona Beach, Florida. Let's see if we end this race under green. Pace car is down. The 3 will have discretion at the green with Jaden Porter to give assist. And the green flag is back underway. Lap 89 to come at us now. And practically an even start between both lanes. It took a little while for Hanshew and company to get settled, but so far it seems to be A-okay. Kevin D'Elia gets booted out of line. He'll be the 3rd car in the sucker hole on the top side car round. It's Tyler Werner. He'll collect a bunch of others with him. Kyle Benson, Lance Hill. And yellow flies out just about a lap after the restart, and there's Benson's car all torn up. And such a tough break for Kyle Benson, who was up at the front. And now just gets caught up in this incident. As we'll see what happened. Just a stack up on the bottom. Kyle Benson gets hit by the 76. And just again, another sandwich. Similar to what we saw with Xander Short's caution on the back straightaway, where just another stack up. A bit of a miscommunication in lane choosing. Just gets everybody backed up. And you'll see it here. It starts at around the 99 and the 12. So right here, they start to pack in. The 33 and the 10 seems to be okay, but then the 76, nowhere to go. He gets into the 10, who then gets into the 33. And Kyle Benson with the absolute worst of it, as we'll ride on board with Benson. And this kind of gets forced into the 33 by accident. And then nowhere but the outside wall he goes, and gets the twirling severely torn up, as there's Eric Schaefer and company at the front of the field. Now for Benson, he does have a faster pair, so he tries to limp it back to pit road, so he does have that chance to just get a clean Chevy Camaro and be back out in no time. But he's going to be at the very back of the field if he doesn't have anybody pit with him, and if he doesn't get out in front of anybody. And so with 11 laps to go, now coming for 10 laps remaining, we are again resting behind the iRacing official pace car with Eric Schaefer out in front. Now for Eric Schaefer, it would be the first win for him since Indianapolis Oval back in race number 16. And Schaefer has struggled a little bit to get back to victory lane, and we talked about his struggles at Darlington, where he came home in P15 after starting 9th, and it was just not the greatest race at the Lady in Black for this 3 car, but Schaefer could find himself at a second race win this season here at Daytona, and obviously maximum momentum heading into the first round of the playoffs and the first race at Bristol Motor Speedway. Last time he had won a race in Season 4 was in the playoffs, and that was at Darlington to get him into the Championship 5, where ultimately came short at Texas to his teammate Lawson Peel. But Schaefer is one of those drivers at DBR who's been pretty dominant in some ways in his own. And so with this shot at the race win, definitely some really good things on the horizon for this 3 if he holds out in front. Now, him in second place, Jaden Porter, are 2 of the drivers who do have wins already this season. Jaden Porter got his first win of the campaign at the Monster Mile, what was his 3rd career 4-wide Racing Cup victory. So Porter with the opportunity here, or rather second career victory at Dover Motor Speedway. His chance to get his second on the year within the span of about 4 races. Ethan Hanshew, though, the debut driver, has not skipped a beat tonight in his Vans off-the-wall Chevy Camaro. He has a chance to be a debut winner in the 4-wide Racing Cup Series. Michael Newbraw, first time we see him in victory lane if he can get it in a very long time, if not ever in his 4-wide career. Curtis Kelly back in P5, also with a chance at the win. And then AJ Green, who had gotten the W last week at Darlington, will be the first driver to go 2 in a row since Lawson Peel back in Season 4 at Atlanta and at Homestead, Miami, if he can do it. That's a big if, though. We've got a lot of aggressive drivers in the mid-pack. We saw that caution happen as a result of a checkup on the inside. Who knows what might happen next? So setting this restart up with 8 laps to go, Eric Schaefer choosing the top side in row number 1, Jaden Porter to be on the bottom, Michael Newbraw and Ethan Hanshew 3rd and 4th on the racetrack, AJ Green, the last driver inside the top 5, and then followed suit by the number 71 of Curtis Kelly, Kevin D'Elia in 7th, 8th place to Colin Forrester, 9th to Christopher Bishop, your defending series champion who had led the most laps up until this point, Lawson Peel, now on the outskirts of the top 10. Might not be the last restart, given our history at the super speedways, and especially with last week where we used all 3 of our green-white checkered attempts to end that one. And 7 minutes left on telemetry if we go green all the way. Eric Schaefer will have discretion. The good news for him, he's got his teammate, Michael Newbraw, right behind him of DBR. to give him as much support as necessary. Hanshu and Porter going to have to work together at the bottom side of the track. Pace cars down. Green flag with 8 laps to go. Not as clean of a restart for the DBR camp at the top. Michael Newbron not necessarily on the back bumper of the 3. It evens them out with the 28 and the 23 on the bottom of the track. But good news, look at all the drivers numbered up on the top. It has been a lot of association at the top and a lot of disassociation at the bottom. Cars around in the mid-pack. The 13 around and sideways. And yellow flag flies once more. Minimal damage for the 13, but that's a caution nonetheless. I'll take a look at the replay. This was the 13 as Jesse Prees tried to stuff it to the middle and just got loose, swerved down underneath the 42, then gets into the 21. Was a slight hit to the outside wall, but the 13 really the victim in all this as he goes sideways and ends up facing the safer barrier. On board with Lounslogger as he got a piece of this incident. There's a look at Prees. And nothing Lounslogger could do. Just got hooked at the exit at 2. Catches up with the 42 car. And then just continues to spin. 55 of Sanchez also locks up the brakes. And boy, has this race turned sour for him after being up in front all night long. Now, this does hand the lead off to Jaden Porter, who was right in front of Eric Schaefer when that caution waved. So, new race leader as we will get another restart. Well, it looks to be inside 5 laps to go. For those who are joined here on MaxSpeedTV, we certainly appreciate all the support as we close in on the regular season here for the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. From Daytona, we've had a lot of great races, and safe to say we're going to have a lot of great ones in the playoffs, and that is for sure. We've set up a lot of outstanding tracks up for debate and up for the taking inside the postseason. We kick it off in a couple of weeks' time in late May at the Last Great Coliseum. Bristol Motor Speedway is when we restart the playoffs in the round of 16. Then we'll have the Charlotte Roval, our first and only road course race of the postseason. We'll be right after that in the middle race of that round. We end that round at Pocono. Pretty interesting elimination race. It's the first time we see Pocono since Season 4 in the regular season. So it has been quite a while since we've seen the Tricky Triangle at display. It was race number 7 where Eric Schaefer got the race win last time we were there. Then the next round, round of 10, Charlotte Motor Speedway will return, but in the oval configuration under the lights. Then we go to the Super Speedway at Talladega. So we saw what happened the last time we were there. Brandon Banks ended up with the win at that track. He won that race at Talladega in the playoffs last season to get him into the Championship 5. We'll see if he ends up with the same success. And then Phoenix Raceway underneath the lights in Avondale, Arizona. That is the penultimate race of the entire season in early July. And then we end the season in South Florida, Homestead Miami Speedway, once again for the 4th straight season. A different location for the championship. Season 2, we had the finale at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Season 3 was at the old Atlanta abrasive configuration where AJ Green won the title. Then the Texas Motor Speedway where Lawson Peel won the championship. And now at Homestead where Lawson Peel won the last time we were there as well. So we'll just see exactly what happens. But so far up until this point, Jaden Porter looking to grab as much momentum as possible and get his 2nd win of the season. And for Ethan Hanshu to win in his debut, that will be stunning. Not eligible for playoff competition. And so that'll leave it all down to points. And we're still eyeing on that final decision on what happens between Kevin D'Elia and Kyle Benson. As it stands right now, Kevin D'Elia sits 9th. Kyle Benson rolls off in P12 when we get this green flag. He did get the faster pair on pit road, so that's the good news for Benson, although he's going to have to walk on eggshells for the rest of the night and just hope his car does not get damaged. We did have everybody from around 17th on back, starting with Joe Sanchez, come down pit road. They're also trying to coop up with the rest of the field. And currently at 22 of the 24 cars that started, still on track. And nice to see Tyler Murray 6 laps down with a repaired Chevy Camaro back out for action, at least looking to finish this race. Four laps to go from Daytona International Speedway. Jaden Porter out in command. And we have seen this race change on its side, quite frankly, since the first half. It was Drinking Bros Racing looking like they were the toughest team to beat all night long. As soon as you had them separated and as soon as they got into a couple of crashes themselves, they're still rather close together around the mid-pack, but not as dominant, not as clear-cut as it was when we started this race, where they occupied the first 7 spots of the field. Now they've got a couple of cars to beat. Colin Forrester, we noted his run to the front is one of the best we've seen all night long. He's going to have to help this 28. We'll see what he can do if he wants to get in clean air, although he's got his teammate in AJ Green behind him, so maybe more of a dynamic duo rather than just pushing Porter to the front. Pace cars down. 4 laps to go. Do we see the end of this race under green? Looks like a better start by that outside lane. Little bit of a sluggish push by the 3 and the 6 to the 23 of Hanshu. And for Porter, that's going to have him in the lead, although not for long. Hanshu with a collective push down the bottom. He'll take the lead at the exit of turn 2, and they'll be even on the back straightaway. Wiggle out of the 99 for the 48. And at this time, you really have to be careful. Hanshu gets shuffled through the middle. DBR going to take control on the bottom. And what a heartbreaker for Hanshu. He's going to have to try and find his space on the inside or outside. He does behind Rodney Roberts in the 20 and around the top 11. Jaden Porter to the line with 3 laps to go. But don't look now. Here comes Eric Shea for that big push from the 6. They're 3 wide at around the top 10. Kyle Benson trying to make a third line happen. And the 28 and the 99 still holding strong, but no push from the 48. Here comes the 3, back with action on the back straightaway to even it out for P1. And now make it 3 wide, DBR in the middle, bit of contact, now they're around. Hanshu in turn 3, sideways into the outside wall. Caution is out, and we will extend this race in overtime. Ethan Hanshu turn around in turn 3. And a tough set of circumstances for the rookie driver who was inside the top 3, had a chance at the race win. And now it looks to be ripped away from his grasp, as we'll see what happened. This looks like right about there. Brandon Gillis, Brandon Banks make contact, and then right into the 23. We'll see if we can get a better look at this. Well, right about there, the 54 gets into the 9 car and then down into the 23, who goes for a spin and taps the outside wall, just kind of pancakes it on the right side. Doesn't look like enough damage to take him out of this race for good, but obviously track position severely dropped on that case, and Hanshu might just not be in contention to win after all tonight. And for the second straight week, we'll extend this race into overtime. We used all of our green-white checkered attempts at Darlington last week, where the 48 of AJ Green stole it at the last corner. And now we'll be in green-white checkered attempt number 1 of the 3 that we have available here in the 4-wide Racing Cup Series. We'll explain the rules as it goes. So for green-white checkers, as it rolls, we will double up the field and have a restart with 2 laps to go, like we've seen before in this season. If the leader gets to the white flag under green, this race is official. No matter what happens, whoever crosses the line first will be the winner here from the World Center of Racing. But if the caution does come out before the leaders do get to the white flag, then we will rack them up and do it all over again. And once more, we have 3 opportunities to end this race under green. And then if we end up in that last case scenario where all 3 attempts are burned off, we have a caution on the final attempt before they get to the white flag, then whoever is the leader at the time of caution will be distinguished as the race winner here tonight. Now remember, for this 28, looking for another addition to career wins in the 4-wide Racing Cup Series. He picked up his first at Nashville Super Speedway back in season number 4 when he joined the season late ran this entire season, took him all the way up until Dover Motor Speedway in the latter half of the last couple of races to end up with a win. Colin Forrester, he knows how to win here at Daytona. He won here when we were here, race number 1 of season number 5. And Forrester looking for his first win since Coda in race number 13. That will be 4 race wins on his season if he can do it. Eric Schaefer looking for win number 2 after getting the W at Indianapolis Motor Speedway at around halfway through the regular season, or rather race number 16. Michael Newbrow hasn't won a race, so he's looking for win number 1. AJ Green looking for what will be win number 3 on the season, and like we said earlier, the first driver to go 2 in a row since Lawson Peel at Atlanta and Homestead last season. Curtis Kelly not with a win this season so far. Lawson Peel with 6, so looking for the record-setting 7 that he put up last season. And then Kevin D'Elia, Kyle Benson, those two who are going head-to-head for the last spot in the playoffs. And boy, they have been all over the place this evening. And so we'll see exactly what happens between these two and with everyone else, as we will double them up for our first attempt at a green-white checkered. For those tuning in on MaxSpeedTV, we welcome you to our broadcast of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series from Daytona. Again, this is our last race of the regular season. We kick off the playoffs in a couple of weeks' time at Bristol. And for those who have been tuning in all night long, we certainly appreciate your support. I know it's rather late night, almost 11 o'clock Eastern time. We do have about a minute and a half. That's if we end this race under green. That's a very big if. Remember at Darlington, I probably thought that race was going to end in the final 2 laps. It did not, and we saw a different winner at the end of it. So who knows at a super speedway just how chaotic things might be. Half a lap away from the restart, and interestingly enough, this 28 decides to choose the outside lane. Now for Drinkin' Bros Racing, they were aligned on the last restart with Eric Schaefer and Michael Newbrow. Unfortunately for them, they're both inside and outside in row number 2, so no possibility of them working together on the restart. But for this 99, he holds the bottom, and the good news for him is that he's got 1 car in separation between himself and AJ Green, his Stocks Motorsports teammate, who's also won here at Daytona prior. Alright, attempt number 1 of 3 available. Jaden Porter with the lead in hand, but can he hold it for much longer? These final 5 miles up to the 28 and the 99, who will go into the restart zone. A bit of a blink by the 3 car. We're back under green. That's a big gap put away by Porter. Can he hold on to it? We've seen that be the detriment to drivers so many times. Looks like Forster does a nice job of picking up the rear end bumper of the 28. And the 6 just trying to pick up the momentum, just lost all of that as soon as the Ally Chevrolet went to the bottom. Single file for about 3 or 4 cars at the exit of turn 2. So the car's wobbling on the Daytona Super Stretch, no 3 wide. Here comes Curtis Kelly with a look for 4th underneath Michael Newbrow. Your top 3 have absolutely pulled away, but can they get reeled back in? Lawson Peel sideways, a bunch of others as well. Caution is out, and we'll do it again for attempt number 2. And tough for Porter, who was just in range of the white flag. And the caution is out for Lawson Peel and company. They get sideways in turns 3 and 4. This again looked like a stack up there. The 53 and the 6. It's kind of all about their wits, and both of them in a very interesting position. And this is after the 71 ducked to the inside. So here's the move by the 71, that white car on the left side of your screen. So he moves down. The 6 loses momentum. Kevin D'Elia looks for the top. And Newbrow sends an interesting block, and then D'Elia comes back down as Tony Kivitt tries to send it 3 wide. Gets into the 12 of Peel, who gets into Banks. And then Lance Hill and company, they all go sideways. And then Hill officially goes around, and while that didn't bring out the caution, that spin by itself, the sideways action by the 12 and company did. They are not going to head down pit road, but it looked like Jaden Porter was going to eye down the white flag, and now he'll have to deal with another restart. We've seen this race all over the place. And we still have our questions unanswered at this stage. And when you look at Jaden Porter, you look at how close he was to a win last week at Darlington. And we saw it in the highlight reel that he was hunting down Kyle Benson at one point. Could not get by him on the racetrack, but still had a shot regardless. And even then, the final 2 laps when we had that restart, 28 had gone down pit road. He had the catbird seat on fresh tires. It looked like Porter might have just been the winner after all, but then ended up in multiple crashes in the final 2 attempts. Somehow still came around with P6 after starting 3rd. But Jaden Porter knows he would probably like a little bit of redemption after that and be able to get a race win. And tonight's still that opportunity available. Although he's going to be on the most pressure out of anyone. It was a decent restart last time by. Did have a good gap, but found his way to clear ahead of that inside lane. And we reckon that that might be the same approach here. He does not have a teammate up until Rodney Roberts, who's mired back in P21 as he's on pit road right now. It looks like Lawson Peel, Tyler Murray, among those that are trying to get service repair right now. And so no teammates for the driver of the 28 in Porter. I mean, even though you look at it, some solid team representation right now with Porter for Bacalhau Bueno Racing, Colin Forster, AJ Green, Curtis Kelly, among those that we see a part of Stonks Motorsports, Eric Schaefer, and Michael Newbraw, part of Drinking Bros Racing, Kevin D'Elia in the 53 car. Also for Stonks Motorsports, so a lot of different teams at representation, and we did see those cars come out of the pit lane. Tyler Murray still 6 laps down, and he will get the wave around. So, actually, he's going to stay on pit road, so he will remain 6 laps down. And looks like he's going to get his damage repaired and try to finish this race, although we'll only have 2 more laps to end it. So, our second attempt of 3 at a green-white checker to finish this off from Daytona International Speedway. And as it stands right now, Lawson Peel, Colin Forrester, Joe Sanchez, AJ Green, Austin Reedy, Daniel Michel, Eric Schaefer, Brandon Banks, Jaden Porter, Curtis Kelly, Lance Hill, Craig Lounslager, Adam Alshire, Christopher Bishop, and Tyler Murray. So far, the 15 drivers that are in the playoffs, Kevin D'Elia, Kyle Benson, that last spot to be decided. And so no worries for a majority of the drivers up in the front. They've got playoff competition at stake. Michael Newbraw, though, can arise out of the fold and maybe spoil the party. Be the last driver in. He's 42 points out when we drop the green flag tonight. And so if he gets a win, he might be able to find himself into the playoffs and join his teammates who have pretty much only brought each other up to success, regardless of who the driver is. But he needs to beat a couple of more cars to get there. He's got his teammate Eric Schaefer on the bottom side of row number 2. But it is Jaden Porter and Colin Forrester, those in row number 1, to lead us back to the stripe. Green-white checkered attempt number 2 of 3. Jaden Porter into the restart zone. And the last couple of miles left to settle it from Daytona. And Porter, not enough momentum to clear the bottom. He's going to have help from the 71 of Curtis Kelly into turn 1. Colin Forrester with a push from Eric Schaefer to get the Martini Racing car to the lead. Caution out again. Oh boy. Brandon Gillis sideways. Kyle Benson with a heap of damage on the front end. And it looks like we'll toss it over the final attempt at a green-white checkered. And a hard hit for the 10 of Benson, whose race might just be considered over. He had the lead at one point, and it's a heartbreaking end to the race as Brandon Gillis got hooked by Brandon Banks in the middle of the field, and hard into the wall went Benson. Brandon Gillis, it looks like he's out of this race. He was suffering connectivity issues prior to that incident. Gotta correct myself, that is Joe Sanchez in the 55 who gets into them right here. Makes it 3 wide. Gillis comes down just a little bit. Both of them merge for the same real estate, and Gillis and Benson go sideways for the accident. Gillis looks to be out of tonight's contention. He's on pit road. And then there's Kyle Benson, who used up his fast repair after being involved in a big crash earlier tonight. And it looks like Benson's night is done. And will that spell the end of his playoff run? Or his playoff hopes to get in? As Colin Forster holds on for now at 35 laps. And mind you, drivers are pushing 35 laps in this stand. We're getting awfully close on the fuel window, although they have been able to save under yellow. So things might get interesting if we extend it and have this last green-white checkered attempt maybe go green, or maybe have that chance where they just burn up enough fuel. And we may see drivers lose fuel pressure. So far, that has not been a concern, thankfully, for anyone on the field. But it just might be a proposition, something that could happen near the end of this race. Maybe just trying to point things out and be a little, just be a little conspiracy theory man myself. But who knows right now as the lights are still on in the iRacing official pace car. Let's take a look back at the Season 5 schedule. So this is exactly what we've gone through so far. Where we are tonight, where we are headed in season number 5 for 2023. And have to say, over this regular season, an absolutely stellar one with this next-gen car. I mean, you look at Daytona with at the end of it, how Colin Forster was able to find his way to the win, and kind of poetic how he's in the same place right now with a possibility of winning. Michigan, a stellar race that saw Lawson Peel take away a win, just like he did the season prior. Then Steven Stempien out of nowhere in a great finish at Nashville Superspeedway. Unfortunately, Stempien is not eligible for the playoffs this season. He hasn't made enough starts. Watkins Glen was a pretty decent outing, but Lawson Peel just kind of dominated that last half of it. Las Vegas was a great race on tire strategy and tire wear and just outlasting your opponent. Las Vegas went to Colin Forster. It was his second race win of the season. Road America might just be one of the best races all season long. We had so much great strategy. And then Lawson Peel jumps himself, gets sideways at the entrance going down the hill in turn 5. Michel goes by the corner later in turn 6, ends up with a win in the last lap, an unbelievable finish. Then came Richmond, Kansas. We saw some pretty decent racing out of those tracks. Talladega, a lot of great super speedway racing where Brandon Banks won that race. Atlanta Motor Speedway where things got pretty hectic, but we did see some great racing regardless. New Hampshire, Texas, Circuit of the Americas with a stellar battle. Lawson Peel, Colin Forster among those that were involved in just a great fight up front for the lead. Austin Reedy hanging around the top 3. And then Auto Club might just be one of the best races of the season, where we saw an absolute brawl to the very end. And it was Lawson Peel capturing win number 5 on the season there. Indianapolis Oval, Gateway, we saw some great strategy racing too. Iowa, a lot of green flag racing and some cautions, but we did end up seeing Lawson Peel winning that race as well. Jaden Porter there with his first win of the season at Dover. Saw a lot of great racing there too. And then Darlington, as great a race as that was, and then how chaotic it was near the end. And then that leads us to tonight here at Daytona, where we end up in our final attempt at a green-white checkered. If a caution does come out, this race will be official. Whoever's out in front by the time that yellow is thrown. However, we do hope that this race does end under green. And again, we thank you so much for watching here on MaxSpeedTV. Now past 11:05 here on the East Coast. And still trying to end this race with a bang. As for the regular season championship is concerned, Joe Sanchez holds that spot over Lawson Peel. He's in 10th. Lawson Peel sits back in 16th. So it looks like the extra 5 playoff points might as well go to Joe Sanchez with 2 wins on the season. None of them right now in contention to win this race outright. But who knows? Anything can happen here at these super speedways. And you could be all the way in the back of the field and everything could clear the way for you. And seas could part out of nowhere. It's Colin Forster out in front, row number 1 on the inside, looking for win number 4 of the season. And his second straight at the World Center of Racing. Eric Schaefer looking to steal it, win his first since Indy. Jaden Porter, his first since Dover. Second win of the calendar year. Curtis Kelly looking for win number 1 this season. AJ Green looking for win number 3. Newbraw at his first. Kevin D'Elia at his first. Same deal for Kivett and company. And some of those needing to win if they want to enter the 4-wide Cup Series playoffs for Season 5. One more go-around for 2 laps to go. Pace cars down. Colin Forster with the discretion. Solid bump by Porter. 2 laps remaining from Daytona. A decent push by Porter. He'll get right to the back bumper of the 99, trying to clear him as best as possible. Bit of a swerve at the exit of turn 2 with the 3 in the 71. Bit of a cleaner restart. More organization in these 2 lanes. And that 3 all over the track. But he tries to get into turn 3 with a heap of momentum, but can't do it. As Colin Forrester gets out of turn 4, we will see the white flag, and this race is official. Your top 3 clear by a couple of car lengths. Kevin D'Elia sliding his way into 4th. Couple of DBR guys around the back half of the top 10, and Eric Schaefer still trying his hardest to get to the front. He's going to back out. He'll go to the bottom. Big crash in turn 1. Christopher Bishop among those involved. Looks like Michael Newbraw also stacked up. Final time on the back straightaway. Here comes Porter Green to give support on the inside. Jaden Porter left for dust. Tony Kibbett trying to go all the way by himself. DBR with a 3-car train. Make that 2, but out of the final trip, out of the final corner for the final time. Here comes Green to the outside of Forrester. Photo finish to the line. 3 wide. 5/1000ths of a second. Give it to Colin Forrester. My goodness. It is the 9th career win in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series for Colin Forrester. As AJ Green, his teammate, celebrates 5/1000ths of a second the difference. And Forrester stays undefeated in Season 5 at Daytona as he burns it down on the trial wheel grass. His 4th race win of the season has him at second best to Lawson Peel with 6, but Colin Forrester with the absolute most amount of momentum as he continues to celebrate here from the World Center of Racing. Here's a look at our unofficial results here from Daytona in the last race of the regular season. Colin Forrester, the winner by 5/1000ths of a second over his teammate AJ Green, and Kevin D'Elia completing a Stonks Motorsports top 3 lockout. D'Elia might just have that finish good enough to get him into the 4-Wide Cup playoffs. Tony Kibbett ends up P4. Great finish near the end. Jaden Porter not close enough to the win as he ends up 5th. Joe Sanchez looks like he has locked up the regular season championship with a P6 finish. Curtis Kelly is 7th. Ethan Hanshu in 8th. Eric Schaefer in 9th. Brandon Banks to round out the top 10 here at the World Center of Racing. Xander Short to come home in 11th. 12th to Lance Hill in the number 1 machine who started on pit road tonight. Ronnie Roberts is 13th. Lawson Peel back to 14th. Jesse Prees in P15. It'll be for him. 16th will be the 42 of Christopher Bishop. He's the last car on the lead lap before you find 1 lap down Michael Newbraw in 17th. 18th to Tyler Warner. 19th to Craig Lownslager. And unfortunate end for Kyle Benson, who ends up 5 laps down in 20th. His routes for the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs might have just ended in those last couple of laps. Brandon Gillis is 21st, 22nd to league owner Tyler Murray, who said in our YouTube chat he was just going to watch the end of the race. CJ Munier, 23rd, and Brian Dixon, 24th, 34 laps down in tonight's festivities from Daytona. We need another look at that exact last lap. And mind you, that was 3 wide to the finish that we had. As he was coming to the white flag, there's Jaden Porter giving the push to Forrester in second. They're going to crash behind them. As right about here, there's some contact. Jesse Prees gets into Newbraw, his teammate, then up into Tyler Warner. And they bring Lawson Peel with them. So a 4 or 5 car stack up. In the middle of turn 1, Tony Kibbett all by himself on the top. He tries to find help from Sanchez. Then a big run by the 3 in the 71. And then here was the move that pretty much did the 28's race in. Tried to go to the outside. AJ Green abandoned him, went for his teammate. Porter tried to block the run by the 76, and they lost more time. Kevin D'Elia, out of nowhere, had a chance to win this race if there were a couple of more 100 feet in front of them. There were 3 wide at around the top 5. Here came AJ Green. They both made contact up the track. Kevin D'Elia on the bottom. And this is the difference. 5/1000ths of a second between the two Chevys, as Stonks Motorsports wins by that much. Well, they win all together, top 3, but Forster wins by that much. And that is the gap. An unbelievable job by the number 99. Speaking of which, we will bring in the driver of the 99, who ends up in victory lane for the 4th time in Season 5, and probably the most insane win of this season to date, Colin Forster. An unbelievable run to the finish. Just give us your perspective on what was going on there in the final laps.
Man, I don't even really remember what happened. That was such a good finish there. First of all, just happy, great job to everyone at Stonks Motorsports getting that podium sweep right there. Obviously, I didn't really want to wall AJ there at the end, but I knew it was going to come down to either me, him, or Kevin. So I figured one of us was going to win it. So might as well try my best to get it done, and we got it done just barely. And man, it was definitely just a wild finish there. I knew they were behind Jaden, so I knew if I just blocked Jaden a little bit, I knew I was going to be able to get back down. I just didn't want Jaden to get on that right rear and start side drafting, and then the rest of the field would catch back up. But luckily they didn't, and we were just able to battle it out as a team, and luckily I was the winner.
You end up on top, and we're going to talk about that Stonks Motorsports top 3, no doubt about it, but I really want to turn back the clock and go back a little earlier in this race, where even at the beginning, you had started on pit road with Lance Hill. You were a lap down at one point. You found your way back on the lead lap, and it looked like that might have been it, but somehow you came out of an absolute cannon, a rocket. I don't know what was in that race car at that moment in time, but you surged to the front in about a lap and a half, 2 laps. How were you able to pull that off, and what things did you learn over the race to help you do those moves and be able to get out front?
I mean, honestly, I don't even really know that I did anything different. There at the end, or there at the beginning, definitely a rough start. But better to have a rough start at the beginning than have it at the end. I was just able to find my teammates, and we worked well together, and I was just able to control the pack there at the end, and able to push well with everyone who's in front of me, and just able to maintain.
Maintain was the word, and you and Stonks Motorsports end up maintaining and fighting for the race win in those closing laps. And now we'll talk about that. You and Stonks Motorsports, you with your 4th race win of the season, your 9th in your 4 Wide Cup career. AJ Green came home right behind you. He's got a couple of wins. He's in the playoffs. Kevin D'Elia holding that last spot, and as of right now, calculations seem to indicate that he's going to be in with you guys. So how good does that feel to have your Stonks Motorsports teammates with you to try and run for a championship here in Season 5?
Yeah, definitely a great feeling. As many teammates as you can get in there, the more help you have, and obviously got 4 wins now, but the only win that really matters is that last one if you're in the championship. So if my 10th career win is going to be in the championship, I hope it is. But we're going to be fighting for the championship, and hopefully everyone in the championship is Stonks. But I know Lawson and all the DVR guys are fast as well, and everyone else in the field. So it's going to be competitive, and just hopefully I can get it done.
It's going to be a big war in the playoffs, but we know you're probably ready for it. And I know this win certainly helps things feel a little bit better heading over to Bristol. Colin, before we let you go and to continue your celebrations here from Daytona, as I should say, anyone in specific you want to thank for tonight's run?
Definitely shout out to the Stonks guys once again. Me, AJ, and Kevin sweeping the top 3 there was amazing. Shout out to my dad for watching. Shout out to you for doing the broadcast tonight. I'm sure you did a great job like usual, and I look forward to going back and watching it. Thank you to Tyler and everyone in the league for having me, and hopefully we can go get this championship.
We certainly appreciate the kind words as always, Colin. A big congratulations on tonight's win from Daytona. Go celebrate, you earned it. And of course, we'll see you in the playoffs in a couple of weeks at Bristol. Enjoy this one.
All right, appreciate it.
Colin Forster, maybe, just maybe, the first step at a championship for that 99 car. He brings the Martini Racing Chevrolet into victory lane. And wow, it was a 5/1000ths of a second place finish for AJ Green. I'm sure this finish definitely feels very good. We're joined by AJ Green right now, driver of the 48. AJ, first of all, just talk about that last restart. You hooked up with your teammate. You get right by him on the side at a turn 4. What was going on in your head?
So on the restart, I told Colin that if Porter ever went high, I would leave him and bump you. And I mean, exactly that happened. Porter went high. I went with Colin, and you had Kevin behind me. He told us don't wreck, just don't wreck, because stonks fashion. You know, sometimes we don't always finish like that, and I think that's the first time we had a stonk sweep the top 3.
And definitely so, you, Forrester, and Kevin D'Elia. But I have to imagine, AJ, that those memories of last season's Daytona race probably came up where you ended up with a win in those final laps in chaotic fashion like always. Did you have a feeling that things might have been going your way just like it did last season, or did this just feel like an entirely different outing?
It near the end, I would say everything kind of just was parting for me, and I was just getting to the front. I do think it's kind of funny. I think last season I may have hit Colin and wrecked him, and went on to win. And me and Colin make contact again, and he goes off and wins. So I think it's just something with stonks wrecking each other and then winning. Is something with that.
Well, nonetheless, 1, 2, 3 for this team. And like I told Colin, I mean, Colin's already locked in with his wins. You're already locked in with your wins. Kevin D'Elia, it looks like as of calculations, he might also be in with you guys. So how good does it feel to have Stonks Motorsports be somewhat well represented in the playoffs? And how much momentum does this finish give you heading into Bristol?
Oh, it's great to have stonks. I think we got all 4 into the playoffs, and against DBR, which theoretically I think might hold half the playoffs right now. It's pretty big. We usually always have a presence near the end, whether it's 2 or yeah, 1 or 2 people. And momentum for Bristol, there's definitely momentum. We're gonna have 2 weeks off, so you can kind of rest the mind and get ready for dodging some cars.
Bristol's going to be chaotic, that's for sure, but we know the second place finish certainly feels good. And AJ, before we let you go here from Daytona, anybody you want to thank for tonight's finish?
Yeah, shout out to Stonks. We did really well. Shout out to my parents for watching. Shout out to you for doing the broadcast. Tyler for putting on the league. And yeah.
A grueling race here at Daytona. AJ, congratulations on the P2 finish. And of course, welcome to the playoffs. We'll see you in a couple of weeks at the Last Great Coliseum.
Thank you.
So that is the 48. AJ Green, the Beef Machine, ends up in second by 5/1000ths of a second, and he is only the second driver out of a top 3 Stonks Motorsports lockouts. And here's Kevin D'Elia bringing up the third place finishing position. We've got him right now. And Kevin, I know that going into tonight's race, there must have been a lot of the pressure around you having that last spot in the playoffs and being basically the last one that needed to get in via points. How does this feel, third place finish now coming out of this race?
It feels pretty good right now. Up until the last half lap, I didn't think I was going to get top 3. It was kind of shaky, and I was yelling at my teammates not to wreck. So, but yeah, it feels good, and I mean, I was thinking about it all night.
Certainly must have been on the mind. And I'm looking at this telemetry right now, this stat. Lowest in the field, 23rd is where you were at one point. 16th is where you started. You end up gaining 13 positions up till your finishing position. And you ended up near the front in those last couple of laps and those last couple of green-white checkered attempts. What did you feel going into those attempts, and how were you going to try and game plan to get in the front like you did in those closing laps?
The last 2, I actually felt a little more confident, just knowing who was in front of me with my teammates and just being lined up with, people that I relatively trust driving around. But I didn't know it was going to shake out the way it did until the last lap.
Well, nonetheless, you make it 3 wide for the race win. An absolute spectacle, but Stocks Motorsports 1, 2, 3, and we're still awaiting official update from league owner Tyler Murray and all the calculations, all the math for playoff. I know I'm terrible at math, but I'm sure I trust Tyler Murray to be able to calculate all that. Still not confirmed, but it looks like you are in the playoffs, so a big congratulations on that. An outstanding 3rd place finish. And before we let you go from Daytona, Kevin, anybody you just want to thank in particular?
I want to thank my Stonks teammates tonight. I want to thank them for not wrecking there at the end and taking me out. I want to thank Tyler Murray for putting this on. This is a fun league, and I want to thank you for broadcasting this.
We certainly appreciate it, Kevin. On behalf of our entire team at MaxSpeedTV, congratulations on the podium. An outstanding night for Stonks Motorsports, and looking forward to seeing you at Bristol in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
That's Kevin D'Elia in the number 53, ends up wrapping up our top 3 here tonight from the World Center of Racing. This was the move. They got AJ Green and D'Elia some free headway to that 99 as the 28 of Jaden Porter went up top. Everybody stayed down low, and Stonks Motorsports ends up with a top 3 finish for each of their respective drivers. And just like the 48 of AJ Green said, we probably might have all 4 Stonks Motorsports drivers in the field. We are still waiting official confirmation as to whether D'Elia is really the last one in via points. But so far, him against Kyle Benson, that was kind of a toss-up in the air all night long. Everybody else ahead, we're all locked in. We do now have word from the update from Tyler Murray. Kevin D'Elia is in. No change for the top 16. And so Kevin D'Elia will join his other teammates in the playoffs, and he'll have a chance at a 4-wide Racing Cup Series Championship. Heartbreak for Kyle Benson. And also, I believe it appears that the regular season championship does indeed go to Joe Sanchez. Finished higher up in the group against Lawson Peel. So I believe that might just be a 55 and the 12 going at it for the regular season championship. They're going to have a heap of momentum, as well as their entire DBR team heading for the playoffs. Speaking of the playoffs, here's our schedule all on the right side of your screen, that last row. Starting with Bristol in a couple of weeks, we'll take a week off. We'll return in a little bit time in late May for the last race Coliseum. Our first race of 3 in the first round. Charlotte Roval then next up. Pocono to eliminate some drivers to make it now 10. Then Charlotte, Talladega, Phoenix to close things off and reduce it down to the final 5 drivers who will gun for the championship at the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. So that does it for us here from Daytona. A big congratulations to Colin Forrester on his 4th win of season number 5. So for Tyler Murray and everyone from the admin team and race council at the 4-wide Racing Cup Series, and for all of us at MaxSpeedTV, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long from Daytona Beach. We're in playoff mode in a couple of weeks at Bristol Motor Speedway.